Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Tavern of Tales. It is wonderful to have you all here, as ever. Announcements. First off, Virus is sad to inform everyone that we are now out of Barovian wine. It basically came as quickly as it went. Terribly sorry. Next time we're in Barovia, we will pick up more. Second, we have an affiliate. We have partnered with Level Up Dice to provide you all with magical stones so that you can cast your spells and make your tricks and do all sorts of things. Luck is not guaranteed in any of these. Well, luck is guaranteed. Good or bad is based on the user. So, how did I? What did I call it? Aha. So, if you are interested in purchasing yourself some absolutely lovely dice, go ahead and check out our affiliate link. Every purchase, every click through, and every dollar of a purchase contributes to us getting rewards for stuff we can give away on the channel, abilities to go to cons, all sorts of great stuff. Level Up Dice is a wonderful company, and I have my own dice coming in soon. Actually, Patrick Omega, would you mind showing off some of your Level Up dice
Yes.
if we can get the camera to participate?
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. So I have so many goddamn sets from Level Up Dice. We have these absolutely beautiful stained glass dice, which are, they literally glow in the light. They are absolutely fantastic. We have these beautiful tiger's eye dice.
Hold up a
There's
little
a
bit
whole
higher.
bunch.
A little bit higher. It's getting blocked off.
I
Thank
forgot.
you.
There we go.
There we
We
go.
have the
Oh,
beautiful tiger's eye dice, as well as these fantastic, very, very gay dice. And all of these, except for the stained glass, obviously, are made of gemstones, including the gay dice. And they are absolutely fantastic. They roll well for me. So fingers crossed for you as well.
So, if you are interested in supporting the Tavern of Tales and everything that we do here, providing food, drinks, and of course, tales for you to enjoy, consider purchasing some dice through our affiliate link for Level Up Dice. Besides that, I think that is all I have for announcements. Oh, one other thing. We crossed 1,000 followers, which we're very excited about. So we will be setting up, getting our merch together this week so we can do a giveaway in the next coming weeks of some merch. Looking at Dragonberries, they came out of me. A gentle healing nom, and Ranagar is my religion. All based on events that have actually occurred in the stream. So if you are interested in getting your hands on some of our merch, if you want to try and win some of that for yourself, those are available to you. So we will do that giveaway hopefully next week, perhaps the week after. Just depends on when we get our artwork in and we can get our merch store open for you. I think that's all the announcements. So let's go ahead and dive into our players, starting at the top of the stream with Blondie.
I am that one blonde nerd on TikTok and ADH Adventures right here on Twitch, where we have Gods of Orlea Mondays, Turning Point, a campaign that I run every Tuesday night, Secrets of the Alchemist, which I and wow, my brain just of course.
Did you forget my name?
You've changed your handle a couple times, and I was like, what do I call you? My brain just short circuited. It's a good start today.
Wow, Blondie forgot my name.
Andrew plays it. Run by Something Savage every other Friday, including this Friday. Circle DM runs Agents of the Circle, and Saturdays I play in a campaign run by Halfling Wizard called Heroes Arc. Yes, and then of course you can find me here on Sundays, and I have a streaming schedule and stuff in my bio on my Linktree. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Proud of you,
Jet.
Hi, I'm Jet, also known as Dungeons and Penguins and everything except for Twitter, where I am D&D Penguin, and of course you can find me here on Sundays.
Patrick Omega.
Hello, everybody. I am Patrick Keefe. I am also known as That Gray Gentleman everywhere on the internet. You can find me under that username primarily on TikTok and Instagram. That's where I post most often. I'm also on Twitter as well. You can find me over at the Writer's Room, 7th Sea, which is a wonderful 7th Sea TTRPG podcast. It is primarily pirates all the goddamn time. And we just released a new episode this past Friday, so go check that out. Gets intense, very heavy in the storytelling. You can find me here every Sunday for Houses of Barovia on the Tavern of Tales. And you can also find a good majority of us at Gen Con this coming September. So if you are going to Gen Con, you want to stop by, if you can catch us, maybe be respectful of our personal space and don't, all that jazz. But I will be working over at the Level Up Dice booth if you want to come and say hi. It is my job to interact with the public. So at least for me, I will mostly be good to talk to with people most of the time. Yeah, it's all for me.
Vex.
Hello, I'm Vex. I'm also one of the many of us who's going to Gen Con. You can find me at Dancing with the Fae, Dancing with the Fairy, or Dancing with the Fae Court, depending on the platform and how many times I've been banned on said platform. You can also see me here every Sunday, which is where you definitely should be tuning in every Sunday.
And Patrick Alpha, the original.
Hello! The first, the only, not only, that's not true. Hi, I'm Patrick Lawler, Loller, everywhere on the internet. I'm playing Ranagar the Unyielding, and I will also be at Gen Con probably this year. Unlike Patrick, I do not get paid to interact with the public. So, I, much like the sun, enjoy my presence. Don't look directly at me or your eyes will burn. And try not to get too close, because much like Icarus, you will light on fire and fall into the sea. So just bask in the warmth that is my presence without necessarily invading this disabled veteran's personal space. Because I will say, if you come up, say hello, and then go away. Please don't lock me into conversation. Otherwise, I'll wear a mask the rest of the time. Which it might happen either way.
Well, there you have it. I will say for me, it will vary depending on the day. So have fun rolling the dice and seeing if I want to talk to people or not.
I'll probably say hi, but yeah.
Andrew, do you think we could bring do you think they'd get mad at us if we brought smoke pellets, that if somebody gets too close, we were like, ah, and we throw them down?
Just smoke bomb and leave.
Listen, we're D&D players. We're very flighty.
Yeah.
We will run from you.
Honestly, my social ability will depend on a factor of something that I can't discuss on TikTok or Twitch, I don't think, and how much the noise of the con is making my autistic brain cry. So we'll see depending on the day. Maybe try and interact with me later in the day. That's probably your safer bet. When I've had an opportunity to put the fire out, that will be my brain during the first bit. With that said, I'm going to do this new format because I want to make sure we get your socials out and then we get the characters out. So we're going to go back through real quick and just have you guys recap your characters real fast for people. And then we will dive in to tonight's tale from Barovia. Liz, if you would introduce your characters.
Yeah, my character is Liz, and for most intents and purposes, right at the moment, Liz is a human fighter sorcerer who is occasionally a rather angry and intelligent little kobold with flaming claws and stuff. And maybe she's some other things we don't know. We'll just have to find out.
Some people don't know. Let's be clear.
Some people don't know.
Dom.
Am I unmuted? Did I unmute?
You are unmuted.
We can hear you.
Oh,
can indeed.
cool. I pay attention. I play Dominic, who is a half-elf assassin who has, quite possibly killed Liz, and another past party member before coming to Shadow Barovia, which adds a little spice. And last session, kind of slipped and told everybody in the party that he's related to Strahd distantly.
Oops.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know what else to have to say.
No,
My
that's
brain's
good.
not working.
Bastion.
Hello, everybody. I play Bastion, and Bastion is a College of Lore bard who currently wants to know absolutely everything. He has ties to the god of cosmic balance, Vaz. And recently there was a very very intense conversation with Vaz where Bastion was chastised quite a bit. So he is currently doing his best to be a bit of a better person. He's sort of been very, very selfish in his exploits throughout like the past 20 years in his search for knowledge. It did inform not Jet Dom that he was aware of why his parents were killed, and to let slip to Eros that her his entire party is dead except for one. So yeah, former party. Yes. That was good. Yeah, no, love you too, Vex.
Eros. I'm just fixing Nightbot now.
I play Eros, who is a satyr monk, way of mercy, and a rogue multi-class. Eros' entire purpose in life is to spread joy to everyone around him and then dip. He nanny McPhee's the motherfucker, okay? But it has come to light that he has probably destroyed most party members' lives, either directly or indirectly, as it happens. And due to Bastion's insight, it has also come out that Eros's other party may have died because of him. So, we vibe.
So we got some issues. And last but certainly not least, Ranagar the Unyielding.
Hello, I play Ranagar the Unyielding, whom is a dragon in the body of a kobold. You can see him there on the edge of the screen as it cycles by. Ranagar was once the leader of a vast kobold kingdom that was unfortunately destroyed when Rakdos was unleashed upon them. That was his job before, was to keep Rakdos under wraps, and our lovely party member Eros may or may not allegedly have released him. Maybe we'll see more about that tonight. Who knows? I definitely haven't told everyone that. I also, because everyone forgot, play Hee Haw, the donkey, whom Ranagar awakened just last week. Hee Haw is new to consciousness and is quite excited to join the party in a different capacity. Always there, silently helping. Now he has a voice. Get excited.
I will toss out for those who are newer that Hee Haw has full plate that Ranagar managed to convince Strahd to give them. Hee Haw is training to be a paladin. And they also equipped Hee Haw with the Helm of Brilliance because it does not have attunement requirements, so Hee Haw is capable to operate it mostly. It's going to be interesting to see how Hee Haw deals with pulling the gems off with no hands, but Hee Haw is a very clever donkey, so I'm sure they can figure it out. I think that covers everything except...
and Vess, Liss's other form, was Ranagar's head of state.
Yes.
Back when the city was in full swing.
In fact, Vess's powers come from Ranagar, giving a piece of their power to them.
That's right. Blessed with the might of dragons. Dragon.
So, with all of that said, music for Houses of Barovia and really the Tavern of Tales writ large is provided by Arcane Anthems, and I want to make sure I get the name right because I just joined another Patreon and we'll be using their music tonight. I closed it, of course, because I am ADHD and a fool. Music D20. Both provide wonderful music for you to use in your D&D games and on your live streams. So if you do what we do here, you should check them out because both are wonderful. Arcane Anthems, in fact, provides their music for free. I think Music D20 does as well, and then you get extra benefits for being a patron, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, the wonderful music that you will hear tonight is all provided by them. I always do this last part where I'm like, did I do everything? We introduce the characters, introduce the players.
You're nailing it.
Spoiler alert, the Teller of Tales is a scatterbrained individual. Well, with all that said, let us continue with... where are we currently? We're flying.
Whoosh.
Whoosh indeed.
It's like the ripple effect transition.
Oh, I'm getting a turning page done.
like
This will work. There we go.
Ooh, adventure.
Is the music really quiet?
I don't know.
All right, there we go. Much better. Sorry
yes.
about that. Tech issues as ever. So, welcome back. Houses of Barovia, Chapter 15, Waking Memories. Last time, the party experienced some new and exciting things, having freed their friend Strahd from the illusion, the glitch that had sway over them in Barovia. It was an interesting series of events following that, as the party had a food fight. And are preparing for the house's ball that will occur. And they are on transit to Ravenloft Castle to see if Strahd still is the ruler of this version of Barovia. So, we join the party upon Ranagar's back, flying through just below the mists over Barovia. Liss. Between the gentle wind flowing past and the rhythmic beating of Ranagar's wings, you find your mind put at strange ease. Your body relaxes some, and you feel yourself drifting into the back of your mind. A memory starts to take hold, rather suddenly, as if opening a book to a random page and starting in the middle. It is your memory, but not entirely. And as the visions start to take hold, your mind wanders. A haze of white clouds sets in around you, and the dreariness of Barovia fades away. A moment later, and the clouds part. You blink hard as the shock of bright sunlight leaves you, seeing spots. Your tiny scaled hands reach into the pocket of your fine robes and pull out spectacles made of bronze with deep red lenses. They block out the sun some, and allow you to see clearly once more. A paradise sprawls out beneath you. Mount Bullock, standing majestically over the surrounding woods. Behind you, the picturesque snow-capped mountain called Reach to the Stars, a collection of several smaller mountains that have been formed into a single mega-spire by the element forces that live there. Beneath you is a sea of green leaf forests and grasslands, and to the south, Lake Eversmore, which glimmers like crystals in the sun. It is a beautiful spot to build a home. Vess. Names are hard, and I'm bad at them. In this moment, what are you thinking as you ride atop your new comrade Ranagar's back, looking for a place to set up your fledgling civilization?
There's a moment of pause as she's suddenly in this memory from so long ago, and she looks around with a smile as she sees the valley beneath her in the mountains. And she taps Ranagar's back, and she points and she says, "Ranagar, look at that little clearing there, that valley. Don't you think that would be a beautiful place for the city?"
Ranagar, I am assuming now in his ancient dragon form.
Correct.
Ranagar nods and drifts down towards it.
So as you approach, there's an area in the forest where the trees are very thin. Not quite a clearing, but almost. And it would be very simple, with a little bit of ingenuity, to clear a large space of land that wouldn't damage the forest too much.
Bess is gonna slowly kind of climb down and like slide off Ranagar's back and make a full 360 looking at the area. And she's going to point at the base of one of the mountains and say, "There, I think the castle would be great there, and then the city coming down from the mountain. Don't you think? There's fantastic resources here. There's the river. It's beautiful.
Ranagar smiles in his dragony way and leans down because he is indeed massive. And he goes,
I agree.
and then slowly he starts to shrink down from his massive ancient dragon form into his human form, which is on the screen but very confusing.
Yeah,
Yep.
give it a second here, guys.
I
Slight
don't
tech
know what's
issues.
happening.
This is what it looks like when we do
Ah.
flashbacks.
All right, there we are.
There we go.
Thank you.
Everybody's better.
Just a nightmare. And Ranagar, in his human form, with a smile, goes, "Oh yeah, I think you've got some here. I like this quite a bit."
Nice thing is, it isn't too far, so we won't even have to work that hard to get the kobolds to come.
Well, I've found with kobolds, it's not that hard to get them to do anything. No offense.
She just raises an eyebrow and looks over at Ranagar like, yeah, sure, okay.
They live for like 10 years. We give them health care. What else are they gonna complain about?
Well, that is a step. They live a little longer than 10 years, though, Ranagar. I know time's a little weird for you.
10 years, 50 years, what's the difference?
She kind of pauses for a moment. She goes, Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's... What style of castle do you want? Do you want it to be made of stone or granite? Well, those are the same thing. Hang on. I haven't built a lot of castles before.
Oh,
Ran- Ranagar, as Vess sort of starts rambling about building materials and the details and stuff, how are you feeling in this moment as you plan this civilization, effectively, the city-state?
Ranagar's excited. He's looking forward to this new venture. He spends quite a bit of time alone, traveling back and forth and doing his missions. And this is a chance, one of the first he's ever had to build something. And while he's pretending for Vess's sake that he's not, he's really quite thrilled to be doing this.
After a minute, Vess slowly walks around and she's just like pointing out like all the spots like, oh, a council building here and the street here and a big square where we can celebrate. And she's just like talking about the whole city layout that she's got in her mind as she wanders around.
Ranagar's not really listening to the details. He's just enjoying the moment and sort of nodding along and being argumentative for the sake of it, but he largely doesn't care. He doesn't care about the details. He's just like, whatever they want.
After quite a while of this, probably like an hour, finally Vess kind of turns around and walks back to Ranagar and smiles and goes, so what do you think?
Well, I think you've got a good idea here. One question. Will I get a crown?
Well, you want to be the king of the city, right?
Of course. Who else is going to do it?
She raises an eyebrow slightly and like folds her arms and goes, true. And then she goes, I think I know just the craftsman to make a crown fit for a dragon king.
Dragon King. I like the sound of that.
I thought you would.
And so time passes. Centuries, even. The area around the city has been cleared to farmland and grain storage. Steep walls surround the city proper, manned by patrols of armored kobolds with guard drakes. The city itself is a series of hundreds of buildings with reddish-brown roofs in varying sizes. These are accented by tall marble towers placed strategically around the city and topped with bronze statues of a dragon. These towers are connected by bridges that zigzag above the city. A secondary wall rings the inner palace, which is a tall spiral with several smaller towers offset around it. It is stunning, with literal centuries of hard work to construct. Within the palace, Ranagar has summoned their council. Ranagar, would you please describe the council room for us?
Sure. It's this huge opulent affair with this big round table in the center because Ranagar, as of course, says we're all equals and then has just the biggest fuck off chair. Every other chair is of kobold size and ringed around the table, but his is just like much too big for a human. Not big enough for a dragon, just annoyingly large. And there's tapestries everywhere of the various places he's been and seen, and quite a bit of there's like a big chandelier over everything, and a lot of natural light streaming through the windows. And he's sort of draped across his chair in his human form, holding a goblet as he swirls it around with just like a shit-eating grin on his face.
So seated with Ranagar, beside Ranagar, of course, is Vess, who has lived quite a bit longer than they normally would, thanks to the gift from Ranagar. Additionally, seated around the table are two other kobolds, members of the council. Crix, if you would be so kind as to describe your character, please.
I can do that. Prince Stormhunter is a kobold fighter, who is the military general for the now King Ranagar.
And beside them, on the opposite side of them, Naren, would you please describe your character?
Naren is a bronzy coppery colored kobold, and they wear the same color robes that Vess wears, but like in their own flamboyantly gay kind of way. And they are the archmage, the head mage, at Ranagar's table. They're a draconic bloodline sorcerer.
And as is happened many a time for this council, you are seated here. They are seated to hear Ranagar's latest genius idea.
Oh, so I was thinking, it takes these kobolds forever to get across the city. It's really shuttering down the workforce. So I think we need to cause some sort of like mass transit system. I'm thinking we put down rails, and then we slap some carts on them, maybe put some sort of engine in the front, power it with coal. We've got so many trees, we might as well burn them down. They'll grow back. I don't know, I think I'll call it a train. What do you think, Vess? Is that doable?
So let me get this straight. You want a series of rails with carts on them, fueled by an engine that will get people around the city faster. How many rails are you thinking? Are you thinking there's like stops on every block?
I don't know about every block. They can walk a little. I'm thinking we take it to the factory district, the textile district, probably to the front gates. I don't know.
You realize how many miles of rail this is, right? It's gonna take a while.
Oh, my mistake. I thought I was speaking with the leader of the greatest civilization ever created on Prater. Sorry.
Oh. It's nice to know
it just can't be done, Ranagar.
It's nice to know that you finally acknowledge me as the leader of this city. Anyway, let me call in chief engineer. I actually think that the engine part of this might end up being the easiest part. The construction of the rails and the disruption to the normal flow of traffic for probably years is going to be quite a feat. And she's going to kind of look around at the other council members to see what their thoughts are.
What do you think, General Crix? Would you like to get your troops out faster? Do the voice. I see your hesitation. I don't accept your hesitation. Let me hear that shitty Cockney accent.
You are
Just
all
think how bad
welcome.
mine is. You can do it.
Gimme, gimme, gimme.
Let's go. Let's do it. We can do it.
Well, King Ranagar.
Loved it. I'm so excited.
It would be rather nice to be able to change out god rotations.
See? General Storm Hunter, they agree. What about you, Chief Arcanist? Why are you Chief Arcanist? That's like 2 titles. It should just be Archmage. What? Hey, storyteller!
Boy, King
What are you
Ranagar, you're
doing?
the one who named me.
Oops.
Oh, hold on. Storyteller, what's this about? Why would they be a chief? They're not an engineer.
You know, Ranagar makes a good
it's
point.
'cause I'm the
Hold on.
POC.
Can I get a quill so I can fix this real quick? Thank you. All right, hold on.
Hey.
Allow me to correct this slight issue. Apologies.
Oh, hold on.
It's because
Oh,
it's
gosh.
because I'm indigenous. You just
no.
called
What's
them
happening?
Whoa!
Whoa!
Oh my God! Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ranagar, ever
Perfect.
prepared for everything.
Yep.
All right, I fixed it. I see. There is a writing error in here. It says Archmage here and Chief Arcanist there. There we go. All right, all fixed. Now, back to the story.
Ugh, it's hard to wear 2 hats.
A veritable hat on a hat, if you will.
No. Not sure why we made this a race thing, but okay.
Oh gosh.
So where was I? Yes, Archmage. What do you think, Archmage? See, corrected now. Okay. Allow me to
There we
continue.
go. Archmage, what do you think?
I mean, Ranagar, I can just teleport or dimension like it. But it's a great idea for those who don't have the magic.
As everyone's talking, Vez like pulls out some spectacles and like puts them on and starts like writing notes furiously and like making a bunch of calculations and dates and like drawing out bits of the city and everything.
It would help with lessening the amount of complaints that I have, Ranagar.
Oh, that's weird. I thought someone was speaking, but I didn't hear a shitty Cockney accent, so it couldn't be, because I'm surrounded by kobolds, and every kobold has a shitty Cockney
I
accent.
tried, you absolute tit. Sorry, Ranagar. My horrible mistake. I forgot that you are deaf at the most inopportune of times.
General Stormhunter, I see you've got an idea. Feel free to continue.
Well, now that my presence is acknowledged,
Oh, I've become temporarily deaf again.
You've got this, General Storm Hunter.
I get
Figured
said.
it out.
We've been doing this for a long time.
I just want to say, dear patrons of the Tavern of Tales, you are all very welcome.
This whole episode is just a treat. It's a little present for everyone.
Feels as though I keep trying to speak, but I can't quite figure it out.
There's nothing there.
Just
There
talk
it is.
a little bit in your nose in the back of your throat.
This debate goes on for a while. By a while, I mean a few days before they start finalizing plans.
Archmage, do you think, as somebody from the Artificers Guild, do you have somebody who could maybe help us with the engine design?
You know, I can do the accent. I might know a person.
Brilliant. Love it.
Wonderful. Who is it? And we can send for them and have them give us some feedback.
Yeah. Who's gonna design me engines?
You know, I'm okay. Renegar, I think one name comes to mind. I can't do it.
You're doing
You're
great.
doing
You're doing it. You're
incredible.
doing great.
You are doing so good.
You're nailing it.
One name comes to mind. Rallo? Hmm.
I'm sorry.
How is it again?
Did you say Rolos? Like the candy?
Isn't that a candy? Didn't you have me design that candy for the shop down the street like last year?
So I did. I think my kobolds should have access to candy.
I mean, it is delicious. The idea of the chocolate wrapping a caramel is, you know,
How do I
it's a
pronounce
decent
the
idea.
name?
One of my more inspired ideas, if I do say so myself.
Yes, making a candy was one of your more inspired ideas. That's why you have me around. Anyway,
no.
if you mind sending for him there, Archmage, we'll meet with him straight away.
Before
You
we
guys froze for me there. I missed that.
it's all good. Before we move a few weeks later, Ranagar, in this moment, as another one of your genius ideas is being put into action, how do you feel about the situation and especially the friendly jabs from Bess?
Ranagar is truly and deeply content. This is his happiest that he can recall. He quite loves everyone that he's surrounded himself with, and while he gives them all an incredibly hard time, he is both appreciative and has a deep abiding respect for all the members of his council.
And so a few weeks later, again gathered in the council room, our newest addition, Rallo, wraps up their speech, their presentation on how they will build these engines. Hold on a second. Ranagar, did you adjust my story?
Did I?
I'm not sure I'm a fan of calling them Rallo the Not So Great. I recognize your handwriting, Ranagar. I'm not sure how much I appreciate this.
So I traveled through time, and I changed a small detail. I don't think anyone's gonna notice.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Keep telling yourself that.
All right.
The meta
Good thing
text
I
is
already had the
commentary.
quill. I have corrected it. Anyway, Chief Engineer Rallo has just completed their presentation on how they will build trains.
So I believe that if you include a bit of a fuel injection pump with some of these, well, not exactly fossil fuels, I feel like that would affect the environment a bit. We don't necessarily want to do that. So I think if we use sort of like a corn oil substitute, a bit more of a healthy energy for the environment, then I think that would be much more effective than typical fuels. Or we could even go with this sort of like nuclear fuel cell to power the entire thing. What do we think?
This whole time, Bez is just like very focused, and there's kind of a funny look on her face as she watches him. And at first she's taking notes, like really detailed notes, and then slowly she kind of like puts down the pen and paper. and just kind of like watches him a little bit more closely.
Before we continue, Rala, would you mind describing what you look like?
Yes, of course. So Rallo, although it was not able to be transferred to the Hero Forge, is a bespectacled green kobold in a very neat brown vest with a little cravat and armored pants to, do his job to protect his legs from whenever he's tinkering on things. Yeah. And he is a dork.
Rella, that sounds like an ingenious idea. You just came up with that in the last few weeks.
Yes, I've been hard at work in my workshop, and it has been a few sleepless nights, but it's fine. I'm happy that I was able to present everything to you.
I'm sure you were. Ugh.
This sounds like a brilliant idea. Renegar, what do you think? I like the corn oil substitute idea. I do think we need to think about the environment, because we live in a very beautiful place, and we want to keep it that way.
Oh, yeah, sure. Brilliant idea when he comes up with it.
Thank you very much, my liege. It is very appreciated.
Renegar just...
Of course, credit what credit's due,
deeply
right, Renegar?
sighs. Right, yeah, we should definitely credit him with the idea, because he's...
Oh, no, of course, sir. It was your brilliant idea. I'm just happy to bring it to fruition.
It's
Sure
okay,
you are.
Rallo. He, never mind. Never mind.
Did I miss
A
something?
lot of work goes into making, and she looks over and gives Renegar a very significant look, making these ideas come to life.
Oh, sure, yeah. We gotta make sure we thank the kobold engineer, not the king dragon.
She just raises an eyebrow at him.
Speaking of which, storyteller, I believe my scroll should read King Renegar. Couldn't help but notice the discrepancy.
Every month is Pride Month if you allow yourself to be consumed by hubris.
Fine, give
I
me a
cannot claim
moment
credit for
again.
that, but it's
Apologies, apologies, dear patrons. I must
That's
King
better.
Renegar.
I'm gonna be upstaged in my own council chamber.
For
Might as well.
just for everyone else. The storyteller definitely writes it very like shittily. It's just like very roughly scrawled in instead of like a really nice correction. It's just like King,
in the
sure, whatever.
margins.
It's just in the margins. Not that Renegar can see that.
Little voice whispers in the storyteller's ear, don't worry about it too much.
Renegar leans over to Nirin. He goes, "This is the one. This is your best engineer."
There's not too many people who could bring it light now, but I think we just gotta hear him out. He does
Oh.
have some good ideas.
Yeah, they're brilliant. Love him. So excited.
You
I think I'd like, if you're okay with it, Renegar, I think I might like to put it to a vote, but I think we go with this one's plan. I think we go with Rallo's plan. She looks around at everyone.
Oh, it's a democracy now. Oh, let me just take this right off. Go on, let's put it to a vote. Welcome to the Democratic Republic of Renegar's Kingdom.
Bess just rolls her eyes and goes, yes, because we formed a council so they wouldn't make any decisions. That would make a lot of sense.
Renegar looks over at General Stormhunter, goes, "Any chance of a military coup? Like right now? If you've had an inkling, now's the time to do it. Please dispose of me."
You told me very specifically that the next time you ask for a coup, to tell you no.
Bess has just picked up like a glass of water and kind of snorts a little bit and puts it back down.
Ranagar's like, I don't recall that.
Vess kind of looks over at the general and kind of whispers and goes, you know, if you ever did do a coup, I don't know that it would be that hard. She kind of winks.
I'm not entirely sure either.
I regret every decision that led to this moment.
Of course, of course.
I
So,
was just
Rallo, what do you
standing
think
there.
Rallo, what do you think the budget is on a project of this size?
Well, it depends on how many trains we've got going at one time. But I think
And here,
maybe.
Rallo begins going into more of the details. Don't worry, dear listeners. We will transition forward again in time.
I believe with 4 trains we could probably.
Many years later. Several years later. They massive amount of kobolds cram the streets around one of the ivory towers, topped with the majestic dragon. Who wrote this, Ranagar? I mean, I agree with you. Majestic dragon is accurate, but like, it goes on for a page and a half.
Of course it does. Of course it does.
The birth rates went down. Wait, nope, it's the opposite. The birth rates went up. Everyone was happy. I deserve to be praised.
Topped with a majestic and elegant dragon, and that's all
Thank
you're
you.
getting. Not this page and a half. And the trains have been ingeniously laid out using the city walls
Geniusly.
and using the existing tower system to place them so that they can cover the entire city. Kobolds pack the streets as they prepare for the grand opening. However, some things have changed a little bit. The council is assembled at the front, of course, with dignitaries and all that such. And Ranagar stands at the front, but directly behind them is Vess and Rallo. And Vess, would you mind describing what has transpired, the two of you working together, to what has changed in our tale?
So, as Vess worked more and more with Rallo to help plan out the layout of the tracks, the engines, how the trains would work, schedule, and all of that, she began making more and more excuses to spend time with him. And slowly over the next couple of years, something developed, and the two were married and had a little family of kobolds. And now they work together in a couple capacities, as he has become the chief engineer.
So, directly behind Ranagar, his second in command, his hand of the king, if you will. And then, Rallo, chief engineer, hand in hand. Ranagar, how do you feel about this wonderful, lovely, romantic development?
Oh, I just love it. I was so, you know what I don't regret at all? Making sure that I was the one who signed off on every wedding. For sure, that was a good idea. Oh yeah, I should be the one to marry all the kobolds. Let them know who's king. What a great, smart choice you've made there, Ranagar. Definitely don't go back in time and change that.
The lovely Rallo definitely asked Ranagar to be their best man, right? As Vess's closest friend.
The proudest days of my life.
Yes, we're all very proud.
And so,
Oh god.
Ranagar steps up onto onto a tall podium that towers above all of the kobolds and presents this new invention.
Is it human or dragon, Ranagar?
Your choice. How would Ranagar
Uh,
proceed in this moment?
I think if he's in front of the kobolds, he comes out as a dragon.
All right.
So, Ranagar comes out and he unfurls his... Oh, are we revealing, by the way?
Revealing?
The color.
Yes.
So Ranagar, for all our loyal listeners, is a bronze dragon. Keeper of time.
Yeah.
and he unfurls his massive bronze wings, and he roars to the cheers and adulation of thousands and thousands of kobolds gathered around. And in his gargantuan form, he goes,
Welcome, one and all, to the unveiling of my most proudest achievement.
really fucked up the line there.
As behind him just kind of raises an eyebrow, like I should have written.
just looks
Rallo's
over at
just,
Vess.
like encouraging him.
I'm doing fine. Be quiet.
She gives him like a little, somewhat sarcastic thumbs up, like, "You got this." It's
Is
good.
this the trains that we're unveiling or the other thing?
The trains.
No longer will you need to walk your tiny kobold feet, for I, Renegar the Unyielding, have invented trains.
And many more years pass. Rallo, would you mind explaining some of the other inventions? Rallo and Vess working together. Would you mind explaining some of the other inventions that you helped create? Under, of
Yes.
course, the wonderful and ingenious Ranagar. Stop changing my storybook.
No, that was me.
All right, I will give Rallo a pass this one time.
Of course it was.
And no, Ranagar, you get no passes.
See about that.
The wonderful and ingenious Ranagar's ingenious what?
Doesn't hurt my throat at all.
Ranagar's crazy harebrained schemes. I'm not reading this. It's like a paragraph and a half. Rallo, you have really nice handwriting though. Ranagar,
Oh, thank
you
you
should
very
take some
much.
you should take some writing lessons.
Anywho, so a few of the things that
I
Radagar
just got my Mac doing that voice through the description.
Oh no. It's written in Rallo's hand, so it's in
Oh,
Rallo's
shit.
voice.
If I have to do the whatever that what's
to do it.
who is Inspector Gadget? If I have to do the
No,
claw
that's you.
voice, you have to do
Club. I'll get you next time, Gadget. Oh,
I'll get you next time, Rollo.
oh God. All right.
So, a few of Radagar's ingenious plans were including amongst the mass railway system were fully paved streets so that it is created a more cleanly environment for the entirety of the city, as well as a number of important institutions such as several different office buildings, a number of different restaurants, all independently owned. No necessary corporate entities here.
And no tipping, only wages.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
honey,
In
don't-
Radagar's voice, fuck capitalism.
Oh,
sorry,
honey,
in
don't forget
Radagar's.
about the movie theaters.
Oh yes, of course, the movie theaters, which
For
play
some reason.
moving pictures, which were absolutely fantastic. It created a great form of entertainment for everyone, as well as these beautiful gilded theatrical halls.
Did you ever notice how he never really kind of distracted us from working on the sound so he could voice it all himself?
We lost Jet, so our cameras are a little messed up.
Oh no. To be fair, darling, as much as I love the lilt of your beautiful voice, I have to agree that entirety of film voiced by kobolds maybe not the best.
I mean, you have a point, but it's also kobolds who are watching them, and that's how they talk. So, like, I mean,
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Okay, well, I will concede you may have a point on just this one.
Also, kobolds, not the best actors, come to find out.
Oh, that's sad.
God, what would the worst movie to only be voiced by kobolds be?
Shakespeare.
Hold on, guys. I'm going to take us to the Be Right Back screen real quick while we fix this because Jet has not returned. So apologies, guys. I'm just going to fix this real quick, and then we'll be right back into this nonsense.
We will think of the worst movie to be voiced by kobolds in that time.
And give
This
us
is-
give us your suggestions in the chat.
Yeah,
Please
give us your
do.
suggestions. as the storyteller airs out their book after someone accidentally spills a bunch of ale on it. Give me a moment to clean this up. I'll be right back. I hate Zoom. I hate that it does this. I wish I
do
could just.
appreciate
I
I'll
wish.
be right back. 2 seconds. I'm so sorry. 1 second.
Yeah, it's fine. I just wish I could pin people so they didn't move when people left the call. I hate that it does that. That's the dumbest thing.
I do appreciate that I always end up as the DM, though.
Yeah, that's just because where you're positioned beside me.
I know.
Gonna turn on Dom Mia, and then I need to fix Blondie's camera.
Oh,
we're
we're
not
not
muted.
Oh,
Some.
There we go. Can you hear us now?
Check 1, 2.
Jackety check. Oh, there goes Twitch.
Yay, there we go.
Thank you so much. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. This is why you don't get too close to the storyteller with your drinks. Otherwise, they get spilled all over the storybook. And we have to clean it up before I can speak. So, where were we? Yep. Where were we? It's hard to read.
Movies.
Sorry. Movies, right.
Movies. All right, ready? We've picked one behind the scenes.
Obi-Wan never told you about your father.
He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
No, it's not true. It's impossible.
Oh, it's so bad. Oh, goodness.
I've never seen Star Wars, but if
Oh,
it's all
what?
Cobalt, I've never seen Star Wars.
Stop everything.
Movie night? House is movie night.
Yes,
Next
100%.
whatever day that we find.
I was gonna say, but if it was an all Kobold cast, I already might have.
Hey, this is I gotta do this for the chat real quick. We're gonna step outside of the tavern and just discuss as people. Can anyone do a Kobold William Shatner impression?
Ooh.
I need this now. This is for
Hold
me.
on. What's a line he would used to do?
Oh, God.
I mean, honestly, any Star Trek line will probably work.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I know how his cadence goes.
Scotty, bring the engines to
I just-
full.
Scotty, bring the engines to full.
All right, thank you.
Give it her all she's got, Captain.
Damn it, man! I'm a doctor, not a.
The odds of us surviving this encounter are approximately 392 to 1.
I suspect, dear readers, you get the gist. Movie theaters, or moving picture theaters, which is a mouthful, but Ranagar would not relent on that name, were very popular
Moving picture theaters.
and have done very well.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, one of the institutions that, oh yeah, it was Radigar's idea. I feel like I sort of incepted it. Was the orphanage. You know, kobolds, I think, overall, pretty good. But there are some orphans sometimes. Sometimes you have workplace accidents. It's unfortunate.
We don't talk about those too much. That's very sad. That was
No,
a
we
brilliant
don't.
idea, sweetheart, when you came up with the idea for the orphanage, and it's so well run, and the orphans are just so well cared for, and you did lovely, sweetie. That's that's of course why we chose unanimously as a council to name it after you.
Thank you, darling. It makes me feel very good about myself.
Well, it should. You're
Ratho's
very grateful.
orphanage. How lovely. He's out there saving children.
Rollo's home for displaced children.
Yes,
Everything
you're
can't be
very
named
kind.
Everything can't be named after you, Renegar. There's one thing in the city has to be named different, or people are going to get confused.
Sure, yeah, I just gave you all a civilization, made you live longer, gave you health care, and an army to keep you safe from adventuring parties. But Raulo makes one. It's fine. It's all fine. We
Wait,
love
so
Raulo.
whose idea was it to band kobolds together in one civilization? I'd just like to establish whose idea that was.
Yours.
Yes, thank you.
Gave you the power to do it.
Fair enough. But the ideas apparently are the important thing.
I'm going to now install intellectual property rights amongst.
So,
Oh, copyright infringement. Very big problem around here, actually.
We have a
Brilliant
different kind
idea,
of pirate
sir.
near the mountains.
and
This idea, they're called lawyers.
as the sun begins to set on this wonderful gem, this jewel of civilization and peace and prosperity, a utopia, if you will, we will fly back up into the clouds, and when we descend again, return to Barovia and present day.
As best, well, I guess it's Liz currently.
It is still Liz.
Slowly comes back. She.
I'll prompt you, Liz. I got you.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I got you. So, Castle Ravenloft is visible in the distance. It towers above the land around it, sitting precariously atop a sheer cliff peak, connected to a small mountain by a drawbridge. A trail slopes down sharply, connecting to a winding path through the hills surrounding the castle and connecting to the old Sphalic road that the party has traveled many times now. The castle itself is a series of large walls that flow directly into several outer structures and one central building. It is a confusing melding of architecture styles, attempting to capture the Gothic stylings of Barovia, while mixing in some flavors from all across the now fallen Galician Empire. Several towns flow directly from these interconnected structures, and the tallest two are connected by bridges. Banners bearing the von Zarovich crest hang from the towers and walls. The entire building glows with warm, welcoming fire. The walls are patrolled by guards in bright livery. As you truly get close, servants and workers scramble about, bringing in stores, making repairs, creating temporary stables, and other preparations for the house's ball. The work stops as the dragon approaches and then lands, and Strahd leaps off before lands and gives a wave. Fear not, for these are my friends. Continue your work. There are general affirmations and yes, me lords, as they return to their work. As everyone else dismounts, Liz, you are still frozen and lost in memory. Ranagar, how are you feeling?
Ranagar is unsettled as these memories are cascading through the mind meld and bringing up things that he couldn't remember before, and he suddenly realizes who he was, which is a not as big a revelation as he thought it would be. It feels sort of like, well, of course I was. I knew that all along. And it largely doesn't matter anymore. And he's more focused on the fallout more so of how Liz is emoting.
So Strahd kind of holds out their hands and goes, welcome, welcome, my friends. Please, come. We have much to do. And then he sort of wanders past the party and sort of just like taps Liz on the leg and is like, Liz, are you well?
Liz just sits there with that, like, and her dark kind of black eyes with kind of what look like the stars in them are just fixed on a point that's not here, that 1,000-yard stare. And she doesn't initially respond. The hand that is holding, or is on Ranagar's back where she was balancing herself, kind of twitches slowly, and she's shaking a bit as these memories come suddenly flooding back all at once. And she continues to just stare straight ahead. After a moment, a single tear falls from her eye, and she just does not respond.
As this happens, Ranagar loses his focus and tumbles out of dragon form, and his normal kobold body comes crashing to the ground with Liz still.
Strahd is going to attempt to catch Liz as this occurs. Yeah, sure. It's like a +9, so as Ranagar tumbles to the ground, Strahd sort of like, oh, and just manages to kind of catch Liz and cradle them before they hit the ground.
Ranagar eats shit, just
Take a
sprawled
fate
out on the pavement.
Take a fate point and let's see, how tall are you now?
2 feet tall.
No, I mean the dragon form.
25-ish feet, I think.
Take 2d6 falling damage.
Hell
and
yeah.
a fate point. My dear, are you all right?
Holy shit, Ranagar!
I'm fine. It's fine. I just, no, it's fine.
And he kind of just gets up and quickly dusts himself off and looks very embarrassed.
I just, I got distracted.
All right.
And those of you who know, I mean, you guys know him very well now, and you know that that's not normal. And he's never lost control of his dragon form before.
As Liz tumbles and is caught by Strahd, she is suddenly pulled out of the memory, and she looks around, very confused, and looks over to Strahd almost like she's surprised to see him there. And she kind of stumbles over her words for a minute. And she looks over. Thank you.
You are most welcome, my dear. Are you well?
And she kind of like straightens herself off, and she kind of looks down and away and glances over at Ranagar, who's now a kobold, and she goes, it's fine. And she kind of just glances at the castle at Ravenloft and at the others. And what's like around, like what's in the courtyard and like.
So in the courtyard right now, it's very busy. It's full of servants and workers unloading carts of supplies, building extra stables, because there's only, the stables here are very small, and so they're basically along one wall building rows upon rows of stables and places to store carriages. There are soldiers milling about, basically practicing their marching and their drill and all sorts of stuff so that they can have this big presentation when the rest of the houses arrive for the ball. So it is very, very busy. And it gives you little tinges of when you first built the city and everyone was moving in.
Ranagar wipes some blood off of his snout, and he goes over to Eros and just sort of holds on to the fur on their leg. And he doesn't say anything. He just he tries not to make it obvious, but he's just holding on to something for comfort.
Lists around. Oh, sorry.
Eros?
Eros is gonna reach down very subtly with a hand on Renegar's back and give just a tiny bit of healing, as well as a comforting hand.
Liz?
Yeah.
Oh, Bastion.
I was just gonna say, Bastion looks over to Dom with a very concerned look on his face. And
Dom
just
kind of looks back with a very uncharacteristic look of concern, like that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Liz looks around at everything that's going on, and looks even more distressed. And she looks to try and find somewhere where she could go to at least be somewhat alone, and immediately just starts walking away and tries to kind of disappear into the
Strahd's
crowd.
still carrying her.
Oh, I thought she got down. Okay, well.
So Liz starts moving. Do you want? Here you are, dear. And he kind of just places you down. Are you sure you're all right? Do you need a moment?
Yes, that would be great.
Follow the northern wall. Take a right at the first kind of dip in the wall, and it is a red stone surrounded by other stones. Not a very hidden secret entrance, but it's a little nook you can tuck into and have a moment for yourself.
She looks relieved and kind of takes a breath. Okay, thank you. And she's trying to maintain her demeanor, but really struggling. And she glances at the rest of the party, and she just makes a beeline for that wall, with her head down, just trying to kind of stay out of the way.
Strahd watches her for a bit with concern before turning over to Ranagar. Ranagar, my friend, are you okay? That was unusual.
Ranagar, now that he's had a moment to compose himself, he's like, "Oh!
Yeah, I did that on purpose. Old Ranagar. Jokey joke.
Make me a bluff check or a deception.
I'm going to do that at disadvantage. Burp. Okay, well, nat 20 now. Thank you, God.
The minute, the minute Ranagar speaks, Arrow sort of flicks his back.
Yeah, a 16 at disadvantage.
Okay.
Jesus.
It's okay. And then in combat, you get the nat 1.
Well, Strahd believes you. I rolled a 3.
I think, you know what I'm going to say happens is as this happens, Hee-Haw brays very loudly. And he just goes, "Well, I've never seen quite the castle." And he just sort of winks at Ranagar and kind of, clip-clops over to Strahd.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Hee-Haw. It is One of the few things about this place that I am pleased exists, if I'm being honest. I missed what it looked like in its prime.
Oh, yes, I'm sure it was lovely.
Also, take a fate point for that self-imposed disadvantage and rolling a nat 20 on it. Oh, it is. It is lovely. I thoroughly enjoy it. Bastion, you will be very pleased to be able to visit the library.
Oh, you beautiful bastard. I fucking love you.
Strahd sort of like bows lowly.
Just, yeah.
And I look forward to
Turns
seeing
the
what sort
bow.
of shenanigans Eros gets up to. A little bit of joy would be appreciated in this place. I think. Did I freeze or did Eros freeze?
No, I think Eros froze. God
done.
damn it.
Oh,
While this is
dear.
going on, Liz, what's happening with you?
Issues.
Yeah, so she goes through the crowd like as quickly and deftly as possible. Gets to the wall, follows it, goes through the. So she goes through. It's a secret entrance, or it's just like a.
It's a secret
wall.
entrance, but like the rest of the stones are like a dark gray, and then there's this one very clearly painted red stone.
Okay, so she goes into the secret entrance? Is
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, that was the
Okay,
idea.
yeah. Okay, so she goes in through that entrance and kind of looks around at the space there for a minute, sees that she is alone, and kind of leans against the stone walls for a minute, and then just slowly kind of slides down it and just sits there. And she takes a minute, and she's trying to collect herself and is not successful. And eventually she finally just folds her arms, like puts her head in her arms and just sobs.
While this is going on, Strahd is sort of just talking about the castle. Oh yes, this part of the design is based on Semreshian builds, and this part is based on, and just sort of going on about how all of this architecture that makes this somehow both very odd castle that somehow works. Click. And Ranagar, what's going through your mind as you've sort of recovered a little bit now? And Strahd just sort of talks about this place almost in a way that reminds you of Rallo. Like, just with this, like, sheer joy and just a little hint of, like, nerdiness, except in this case, history, not engineering.
I think Ranagar is starting to have the beginnings of a panic attack, and is just like kind of like breathing a little heavy, and is just sort of like staring off into the middle distance because nobody remembers to turn off the mind melt.
Oh no.
So as Liz is crying, Ranagar's aware of it, and he's like trying not to be, and he's like,
Oh, this is fine. It's all fine. Everything's great. I'm a dragon. I'm a powerful time dragon.
Is Renigar visibly distressed?
yes, very.
Cool. Eros is going to.
His like back frill is like a cat standing up, like more than you've ever seen it before, and it's just like rigid, and he's like breathing really heavily, and you can see in the corners of his mouth between his teeth like flickers of different colors as his lightning and fire and sand breath are all just starting to like spit out the sides.
Eros is going to very quickly sort of dip in front of Ranagar, but it looks like he stumbled. And so he's on his like one knee in front of Ranagar, and he reaches into his bag and just pushes a paintbrush instead of like one like paint color into his hands, and then just gives a wink, and we have a little work we need to do, if you guys wouldn't mind excusing us for a moment.
Yeah, of course.
Ranagar, seeing an opportunity, he's like,
Oh yes, of course. We're gonna go paint things. I'm fine.
And so Strahd kind of
leaves.
puts a hand on Bastion's back and is like, come Bastion, I mean, this is Ravenloft, one of the most famous castles ever built, and let us explore it. Let me show you around. I'm sure you will find it fascinating.
Don't forget about Hee Haw. And then Hee Haw follows Strahd and Bastion.
Of course not, Hee Haw. Please, come with
How
me.
could we?
Because
Is Dom, I assume Dom's coming along.
yeah, Dom does the Dom thing. They're around.
Yeah, right.
So, Ranagar and Eros. Eros, where do you lead the two of you?
Gonna try to see where people not are avoiding but are less dense. And just try to not duck into an alcove, so to speak, but somewhere like hiding in plain sight.
Bastion got a inspiration.
Oh, hey.
So wandering the courtyard, you actually end up at the back of the castle, and behind it there's a gate system that is unlocked and open that leads to a couple of sort of guest houses, and then a balcony, like a fence that overlooks the mountains of Ravenlost Castle and looks down upon the world. And there doesn't seem to be anyone doing anything back here.
Eros will not quite guide Ranagar, but like let Ranagar walk first, even though Eros is sort of the one moving them.
Yeah, Ranagar is kind of like zombie shuffling along. His eyes are sort of dilated, and he's just like kind of disassociating as he goes. I think that he's having flashbacks to his own castle and remembering more and more of it as he used to walk through it. And he keeps shifting in his mind between being a human and being a kobold, and he's sort of losing sense of where he is as he remembers the way his mind used to perceive time.
It is a miserable experience. As a little background for our readers, bronze dragons effectively exist at all points in the timeline that currently exists. It's like a ball of yarn. There's the start of time where the yarn starts, and then it's slowly unraveling to current history, to the present point in time. And bronze dragons exist in that entire point. They can basically, when they travel through time, they basically just transfer their consciousness to their body in that point in time so that they can maintain this singular timeline. And the mortal minds, in fact, even the gods' minds are not designed to do this. This is something that bronze dragons were built for specially. And the process of untangling all of that, being able to have glimpses of everywhere you have existed, is not something that the mortal mind is designed to handle. And in fact, Ranagar, I'm going to use a fate point as you suffer some psychic damage, as your brain is just hurting from this.
I think as well, whenever Ranagar shifts, he gets bigger, and you see like ripples as his scales change color into the dragon form that he becomes. And Eros, if they're looking, will see more and more bronze. His like almost like the sun is catching them, and you see more bronze, and then it goes back to the gray or green or blue or red or gold of his normal coloring.
Ranagar, he'll take a second, like position himself in front of Ranagar again now that no one's here, and kneel down and try to get Ranagar to look at him, instead of off into the ether. Ranagar, come back to me for a second. Are you here?
I think as you shake Ranagar, he's still really distant, and I'm going to spend a fate point here. Through the mind meld, you see a small snippet of the past and remember his title.
King Ranagar the Unyielding.
And as that happens, Ranagar shifts between kobold and human, and you see what human Ranagar looks like for the first time. And then just as quickly, he snaps back into kobold form, and he looks at you, and he goes,
I'm sorry. I lost track of time.
Eros will just sort of like wish Ranagar's face for lack of hair to properly ruffle. Just
He does
go
have a
anywhere
cute.
I
He does
can't
have a cute
follow.
little beard made of
I
dragony tendrils.
Oh my god, no. I was gonna squish, just go. Stop going places I can't follow. You. There's a lot to unpack. Do you want to talk?
Ranagar smiles. He goes, I don't even know where to start. I just remembered a lot. A lot. Fun fact, I'm a bronze dragon. Yay!
The sun sort of revealed that moments before you. Are you in league with one another?
With the sun? He looks up at it and
the
goes,
god
ah, why? What would possess me to look directly at the sun? God damn you, storyteller!
Just looking very smug. Just
Storyteller's face is in the sun.
I'm definitely not diffusing this situation with humor.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Not like we're alone or anything.
I remembered my kingdom. And the way things were before.
Would you tell me about it?
It was lovely. So many kobolds. You know, the kobolds, they don't live very long outside of what I did for them. They lived in like little tribes here and there amongst the mountains and caves. And adventurers would come along and they'd kill them. And nobody seemed to understand. They're not monsters. They're people. And there was this one kobold, Bess, who wanted to unite them. And so I gave them some of my power. And we did. We built a whole city. But you know that.
I don't know how you felt about it. I don't know who you met.
I loved it. I think that city was the last time I was happy. Maybe the only time.
That won't be forever. I am sorry.
I know.
Would you have a favorite place?
Yeah, sort of. I didn't love the name. But there was this orphanage. And there are these little kobolds, and they're cute when they're little. And I would go there and I'd use my magic to entertain them. I'd do little puppet shows. And they loved it. The wee little kobolds. And then I'd find places for them in my city. Give them jobs and purpose. Because their parents were killed. Seriously though, the name, it just was terrible.
And what was that?
What was it again? Rallo's Home for
Displaced Children.
Rallo's Home for Displaced Children. Fucking Rallo.
I'm surprised it's not named after you, and that you let something be named after someone else.
Well, that's what Vess wanted.
You cared for her a great deal, didn't you?
I cared for all of them. I don't...
Insight check.
roll it up. Roll deception. I'm gonna go.
Heard people talk.
Well, I rolled a nat 1.
I will take my fate point.
So, Jesus.
I also rolled a nat 1.
I will take 2 fate points, and I'm gonna spend one. Oh, what's more interesting? I think it's more interesting if Arrows figures it out. So I'm gonna spend one to make Arrows pass. Thanks, guys. Appreciate those.
just a bad liar and an even worse. I'm lying. I believe you.
I'm lying. No, you're not.
Rangar, you are a incredibly complex, hubristic, and inanely confusing being.
Go on.
But I know someone who's in love when they've seen it.
Ah, that's ridiculous. Dragons don't fall in love. We hoard gold and we do other dragony things.
Most dragons don't start entire cities either for a single kobold.
I never said I did it for us. I was king! King Radagar.
Mhm.
Big deal. Puff puff.
You let someone else name an orphanage after them. That's not something dragons usually do, but Vess wanted it.
Bah.
Bah.
Ranagar starts to shut down.
Eros is going to take out a paint set and paint a mustache onto Ranagar's face. You don't quite get to leave this conversation that easily. No. And we'll boop the paint onto Ranagar's nose. Looking at him.
Ranagar's gonna attempt to run away.
Eros will
We'll
attempt
see
to-
about that!
I'm gonna spend a fate point. Arrows, you succeed on the check.
Ah!
You?
Imagine you grab Ranagar's tail.
Yeah.
In kobold culture, that is considered a faux pas!
Congratulations, I just saw you turn partially human, and you're a dragon. And then Eros is gonna try to pull him back to get under his armpits to
Yep.
Simba lift him.
Absolutely. I picture Ranagar's legs are still moving, like he's still trying to run.
He's just kicking.
Stop it! Let me go!
Eros will do a little spin so that he can catch Ranagar facing him. Just, all right, if this is how we have to have this conversation, this is how it shall be. Won't you admit it?
Ranagar lowers his. He glares at you, and then he puffs a little amount of fire so that it lights your hair on fire.
Pat!
Eros is gonna shake Ranagar. All right, if you're not going to admit your feelings and try to set me on fire in the meantime, you get to be scrambled.
You're not supposed to shake babies! All tiny kobolds!
You're older than me. And
I'm
then
older than
stop.
everyone!
He'll stop. And just pull Ranagar close so that they're snout to nose for a moment. You annoying fuck.
Thank
You're
you.
fantastic. You're an incredible dragon.
Go on.
Smart and sometimes still somehow incredibly stupid. And you're in love. And that's okay. And you won't admit it. Nah, I don't think enough scrambling of kobold brains can get you to do that. But you don't have to. And then Eros is plop him down. Someone knows.
Ranagar has a
And it's not
flashback to a
weak.
Hercules movie.
No chance, no way. I will
Sorry, Arrows, continue.
Yes, why deny? Anyway.
It's too cliche! I won't be in love!
Oh, that's again.
Anyway, Eros. Sorry, let me continue.
We
Back to the
found it.
story. Eros was saying,
You won't admit it? We'll pretend like it's not a thing. Well, you will. But being in love doesn't make you weak, it doesn't make you any less magnificent, and it doesn't make you any less intelligent. In fact, it's just nice to see you truly care about someone other than yourself. To that extent. I also don't think I've seen a kinder person, but that's besides the point. Enough singing your praises for one day. I don't want to go to your head.
Renegar kind of shuffles a little.
He's like, yeah, that might be true. Well, it certainly doesn't do anyone any good.
I may disagree. You have no idea what sort of good it may do, or how the other feels as of now.
as Eros says this, Ranagar, you have a flash. To past events. The fall of the city, what transpired afterwards.
Ranagar just looks really, really sad.
Like,
and goes,
I was gonna say, like, more so than already.
oh yeah. Like this haunted look goes over his face. It's like startling. And he goes,
You have no idea how long I've had to deal with this.
and like, you can tell that he's not being hyperbolic.
I can only imagine.
And he smiles and goes,
No, you can't. No one can.
At this moment, there's a bang on the gates behind you as Strahd, walking backwards, is just absolutely gushing about Castle Ravenloft with Bastion and Hee-Haw.
enraptured.
Just absolutely like, yes. And then the servants' cultures we based on some Russian design. They have wonderful systems for their servants, and kind of turns and like sees Eros holding Ranagar with Eros' face still trembling. Is like, oh, I am so sorry. Did not mean to intrude.
Bastion raises an
Just
eyebrow.
drops Ranagar.
Ranagar
Guy with the painted mustache.
does not catch himself and lands flat on his ass.
Take another fate point.
All day
and-
today.
And 3 points of bludgeoning damage.
Oh, yeah.
And it echoes out and like down the side into the valley as it's just and through all the buildings and the high walls. Are you all right?
Oh yeah, I'm just breaking in the old scales.
Strahd runs over to Ranagar and kind of offers his hand. Is like, here, friend, let me help you up.
Bastion does the same, and as he's grabbing the other arm, is like, I heard that. That was your tailbone.
I felt that.
And I heard a crack. And just pumps a cure wounds.
Ranagar
He's like, thank you. Just
8
you know,
points.
you know how it goes.
Yeah. You and your japes.
Just regular old Ranagar, nothing to see here.
Bastion just looks at Eros and kind of like does a once over just to kind of like try and parse the mood.
A regular smile.
Insight check.
Deception or persuasion? Insight.
Insight, that 13 plus 4 is 17.
As this is happening, Hee-Haw kind of looks over at Strahd and with what I can only assume is a shit-eating grin on a donkey is like, So, Strahd. Oh, wait, how does he have it? Yeehaw. So, Strahd, I assume that the donkeys here are well taken care of.
Of course, of course. I have, well, fond memories of all, what's the word I'm looking for that's not, noble steeds, and from my own past. And so I ensure that all horses, donkeys, and other beasts that assist us in our work are well taken care of for their service.
Good, good. Good to hear.
Speaking of, Hee-Haw, would you prefer, this may be a bit unusual question to ask, but would you prefer the stables as something more comforting and that you are used to, or would you prefer your own room? We can sort of set up a mattress on the ground that wouldn't be too difficult for you to climb in and out on.
Yeehaw kind of looks, I think I'd quite like my own room.
Excellent. And Strahd claps his hands together and is like, please, follow me. I will show you all to your rooms. And sort of like just very excitedly kind of walks back towards the castle with like a flourish of their cape.
I'm going to say that, even though I beat it, I'm going to say that Bastion fails that insight check and is just still
Take a
sort
fate
of
point.
like Strahd like snaps him out of it. He's like, yes, absolutely. And just follows afterwards. Just
I'm
kinda,
sure
like,
you'll be
shakes
very
him.
impressed with the rooms. They are magnificent. We spend no expense for our guests. And for a
The
brief moment, Eros and
fucking
Ranagar are alone.
architecture.
Eros and Ranagar are alone again.
Didn't lose her forever. It's the only comfort I can offer. And then
Ranagar-
Eris will follow.
Ranagar just laughs when you say forever. Like a hollow laugh.
It's one of those storyteller moments where it hurts. Oh. And then follows.
Yeah.
I think Ranagar is like, I'm gonna take a minute. I'm gonna enjoy the sunset.
Don't do anything stupid.
I literally don't know how to do anything else.
Don't do anything smart. And then Eris will leave.
And
And
Strahd,
Ranagar is just gonna sort of stare off into the distance.
so as Strahd leads you all around the side of the castle, he kind of glances over and sees the red brick and goes, would you mind just meeting me at the entrance? I will be there very shortly.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And they'll kind of like lean against the wall for a second as the party continues on, and then push the button and look in on Liz. And Liz, what are you currently doing in this little alcove, this little hideout?
She's still there, and the sobs have somewhat subsided, but she still has her head in her arms and is going through all these memories that she thought were long lost and didn't let herself think about, and all of the happy memories and the life that she had. And she just sits there, not moving.
So you hear the grinding of stone and then the door kind of sliding open, but not all the way. And Strahd sort of like very deliberately knocks, although it's a stone door, so it doesn't knock very well. And he's like, Liz, are you all right?
She kind of startles a little bit and kind of comes back to the present. And she looks up at the door and she sighs. And she, not really.
Do you need to discuss this?
I don't know.
Very well. Perhaps you would like a more comfortable place to contemplate your thoughts? First off, may I join you? Having this conversation through a crack in the door is not conducive to good conversation.
She gives a little bit of kind of a mirthless laugh and, yeah, you can come in.
And so Strahd kind of slips in and closes it and then casts light because it's dark in here. He can't see. Well, he can see. Well, no, he can't see anymore.
She squints a little bit at the light and kind of like quickly kind of brushes off her face.
I
And looks
don't
up.
think there is any way you can hide the fact you were crying from Strahd. I
Yeah.
don't. I don't
Oh,
think
no,
there's
I
any way to
don't
hide
think
the red.
so. Doesn't mean she's
Miss-
not going to try, though.
um, you look lovely. I suppose I should have warned you about all the dust in here. I had no idea you had allergies.
Allergies. And she kind of like takes a hand and she just like touches the stone of the castle and like looks down around at the space and just kind of feels all of the bits, like all of the pieces and cracks and stuff in the stones. It's a very nice castle.
Thank you. I am very proud of it. I wish you could have seen the real one. This one is an accurate representation, but it is still a pale imitation. But I cannot say it does not bring me joy. So what has you down, my friend?
This place is strange. And some memories that well, I don't know how to say it other than that I haven't thought of in a very, very long time. Have been coming back in vivid detail.
I'm sorry to hear that. It is a painful thing, remembering a past that is long forgotten.
She kind of looks at him and knows that with at least a fraction of what she's feeling right now, he has also experienced. And although her eyes are a bit unusual, there's no mistaking the agony that she's in right now.
It has been a long time since I've had to comfort someone, but may I offer a hug?
She looks around again, and is still a little disconcerted because dealing with all of this is something she's never done before, and that is weird. And she kind of nods and slowly stands up.
So he'll, pull her into a warm embrace. Very friendly. Nothing what's the word I'm looking for?
Untowards.
Untowards, thank you. And just sort of hold her close and say, the thing they never tell you about immortality is the regret never goes away.
She sits there for a moment, and she's shaking just slightly as she returns the hug. And after a moment, just very softly, she says, "It was a beautiful city.
I have no doubt.
I was happier there than I've ever been. And I thought foolishly that it might last forever."
That is foolish. Nothing lasts forever. But happiness is not a finite resource in the world. There is plenty more to be found. It's just very difficult sometimes. It hides in the most unexpected of places.
She kind of laughs a little bit when he says nothing lasts forever, and she goes, "Yeah. With perhaps a few exceptions."
Perhaps. And he'll kind of release her and look her square in the eyes and be like, "Are you ready to rejoin? I'll notice if we're gone too long."
She kind of just looks at him for a minute. She goes, My mind is fighting to be in two places at the moment, and I don't know that it's the best time to be meeting anyone new.
Well then, it's fortunate that the plan is for you all to retire to your rooms.
She kind of nods.
And
Fair
he'll snap his fingers and prestidigitation away the tears and the tear stain on his jacket. You be there, if that's where you want to be. I am not one to deny someone their nostalgia.
It's fortunate, perhaps, that the memories are not always this clear. That's not the only such place that I've been. And she just slowly turns around.
I'm not going to ask about that, but yes, in my experience, it is much harder when they come back clear than they were just glimpses. Oh, come. And he'll prestidigitation the door open. After you.
She walks past and she slowly kind of tries to straighten herself up and just look the part.
You look lovely, dear. And after a little while, Strahd will return to the group at the front with Liz. Sorry, Liz had allergies. I forgot that occurs in humans in dusty old catacombs.
Yeah, that it does. That is a bit of an unfortunate side effect.
Oh,
She's
come,
not
please.
making eye contact with any of the party. She's just kind of looking anywhere else.
Strahd kind of notices and is just like very flourishing in front of Liz. Like, now please, follow me. The exterior is maybe breathtaking, but the interior is something else entirely.
Bastion excitedly looks to Hee-Haw. He's like, we get to see more architecture. This is fucking fascinating.
Yes, Bastion, I'm excited too. Normally they don't let the donkeys inside.
You got special treatment, sir. And he'll turn to Dom. He's like, Dom, the parapets. How excellent a sniping position.
Tom sort of chuckles and nods and is like, oh yes, very good. You can see them like thinking about the trajectory and the angles and doing the math in their head. So Strahd kind of leads you through the heavy black iron doors of Ravenloft. You enter into a stunning entrance hall. The floor is white marble and the walls stone. Banners hang from both sides, and ahead an archway that leads into a beautifully lit entrance hall. Sorry, into a beautifully lit grand staircase. That's the word. 4 stone pillars spiral to hold a dome roof. The grand staircase itself lined with red carpet and decorated with paintings as it ascends upwards. A set of doors directly ahead and a hall to the right that appears to lead to 2 separate spiral staircases and another set of double doors. Strahd turns and motions around him to all of you. Welcome to my home. As I said, I missed these stunning walls during my time in the mists. One of the few perks of this prison, if I'm being honest. As he speaks, a well-dressed human man approaches, clearly Strahd's chamberlain. My Lord Strahd, we have much to prepare and I have no one to make decisions for. Make decisions? Where is Irina? Was she not taking care of these details? And the chamberlain looks very confused and almost glitches. I'm sorry, my lord? I do not understand. Why would Irina be taking care of the details? Strahd looks from the chamberlain back to you and is clearly puzzled. Irina is not here? No, she is at Mother Barovia with her husband. Yes, her husband, of course. Why am I drawing a blank on her husband? Sergei, my lord? Your own brother? You forgot your own brother? Strahd sort of has a moment as he stiffens, and you can see him shake a little bit. And for a moment, it looks like he's literally biting his tongue before turning to the chamberlain going, I am a 456-year-old vampire who ruled Barovia as a monster tyrant. Well, it was cut off from the rest of the world by mist tonight, and Strahd trails off as the chamberlain's eyes roll back, and he just starts spasming as he glitches. Strahd turns to you all. So it seems that things have changed a little bit since the last time I was here.
Yeah, just a little bit. Have we... What do they remember?
This is like totally like dissociated for most of this, but all of a sudden, sensing the change in energy, like tunes back in and is like, I'm so sorry, what?
That is an excellent question. And he sort of grabs the man and is like, "Are you all right?" He's like, "Oh, yes, my lord, of course. Oh, we have guests." And Strahd kind of motions to be like, "Ask away. We'll see what the answers. We'll see what glitches him."
Yeehaw kind of claps up and he goes, "I'm sorry. Did you say Irina's husband was Lord Strahd's brother?"
"Well, yes, of course it is." And he kind of looks down at the donkey, and you can see him like twitch a little bit. And for a second, you think he's glitching, but then he's like, "My lord Strahd, is the donkey going to be?" "Yes, the donkey is one of our guests, and you will treat him as such." Yes,
Yeehaw
of
actually
course."
raises a hoof to Strahd and goes, "Excuse me, Lord Strahd." And he looks back at the chamberman and goes, "Is this how you treat all your guests?
"Oh no,
Does my
no, of
form
course not.
disturb you?"
I just was not prepared for it. I have never seen such a
And
majestic
Yeehaw puffs
donkey.
up and he's like, "Perhaps you should have been.
I
For
should have."
I am Yeehaw."
Strahd kind of leans down and goes, "Sir Hee-Haw."
That's right, Strahd. Thank you. Sir Hee-Haw. The
Ni-
incredible Hee-Haw, as it were.
Knight of Barovia. Yes, of course. I apologize. Of course, Sir Hee-Haw. My apologies. Yes.
And Yeehaw winks at Strahd.
Strahd just winks back. It's like, yeah. All right.
Bastion will say to the what did you
Chamberlain.
say this person's
Chamberlain.
So Strahd is actually Lord Strahd has mentioned Sergei in passing before. How long have Irina and Sergei been married? I'm just pure curiosity.
Well, it would have been about 400 years ago, right after Strahd settled in Ravenloft and the castle was built. And Strahd kind of like looks at him and he's like, "Yeah, I killed Sergei that day." Oops, I didn't say that next one. "Yes, I killed Sergei that day." And you watch the guy spasm again. It's like,
So that never.
this place is rewriting itself based on what we've done. Or what you've done, largely.
Oh boy.
Liz pulls like really back in and is finally like focused on the present moment and looks at Strahd and Bastion. And she looks very uneasy and she goes, That's very concerning.
Yes, now I am concerned that whoever created this place is aware that I am not the Strahd from it. Or that the Strahd from it is no longer in their service.
It does sort of confirm something, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. We did suspect Irina as well. Well,
I think perhaps we should suspect everyone
yes,
besides Present Company.
you may be correct. Perhaps something to consider in the rooms, yes?
I think that's probably a good idea.
Chamberlain, if you would be so kind, let us have some rooms for our guests. And Chamberlain's like, "Oh yes, of course." And as the party is escorted up the grand staircase to get rooms, we will take our break for the evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Go bother Byrus, get yourself some food, some drinks, and use the washroom as we continue on with more of the tale of houses of Barovia. Much for your patronage during the break. Byrus is still griping in the kitchen. I can hear him barely, which means you all did wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope you all are resupplied on food, drinks, and have used the restroom as we continue our tale for the evening. So Ranagar, as you sit on the back balcony, I guess, I'm not really sure how to describe it, of Castle Ravenloft, looking out at as the sun has just vanished beyond the mountains in the distance behind the mists. How are you feeling?
Oh, Ranagar feels like shit.
Are you outwardly look like you feel like shit? Or have
Oh,
you
yeah.
managed it? Okay.
No, Ranagar, now that no one's around, honestly, I think he's just quietly weeping.
So as you are weeping next to the balcony looking out, you hear this kind of rasping as the gate rattles. Strahd's like, Ranagar, may I speak with you?
Ranagar is like,
Oh, yeah, of course. Just collecting dragon tears for my alchemy.
Are you roll me a deception? Disadvantage.
Okay.
14.
Okay, I rolled a 12, and Strahd's insight is higher than +2, so. Yes, of course. And the gate kind of swings open, and he walks over. He's like, yes, of course. Dragon tears can be very useful for a variety of uses.
They sure can.
I was wanting to speak with you about the ball. Some little bats told me that you might have eyes for one Arcanist Marishka Grekenrich. I was wondering if you'd like me to invite her for you.
Renegar just chuckles.
Oh, right, that. No, so you know about the mind meld, right?
I do, yes.
When I met Marishka, it started to form, and we formed this mental connection, and I didn't want the others to see, so I just sort of, created a diversion.
That is very clever. I like that.
Honestly, I've been trying to get Dom in her favor. I left a few flowers. Granted, I did shape the flowers like a dragon, which might imply that they were for me. But who doesn't want dragon flowers? That's what I was thinking.
I cannot imagine. And I'm sure since you shared the mind meld, it was very apparent what was going on. So
I think Marishka picked up what I was putting down.
they're a very intelligent individual, yes. So then shall I send word to invite them on Dom's behalf?
Oh yes, I think that would work quite well.
Are you going to tell Dom that?
No, it's much more fun.
I agree.
Little surprise.
I agree. Well then, very well, Lord Dragon. I shall. It's strange. I am so unused to having friends. I don't think I've ever really had them, even before I became all this. He motions himself and like, well, before I became a vampire and now I'm becoming... Never mind. You know what I mean.
Sure. I very much do.
Well, thank you. I'm not sure I deserve your companionship, but I shall attempt to earn it.
Renegar just sort of like very half-heartedly tries to puff himself up and be like,
Nobody does.
but it's very clear that he's not feeling it.
Strahd sort of reaches out and pats Ranagar on the shoulder, and you're like, you're correct, my friend. But he knows what's going. He's very clearly knows what's going on, and he's just trying to comfort Ranagar and play along with the bit.
Yes, very powerful Lord Dragon who doesn't feel strong emotions. That's where we're at.
Of course, my friend. Of course. So Strahd goes to leave and walks away. He kind of gets a few steps away and turns back and goes, was there anyone you wanted me to invite, Sir Ranagar? Do you have anyone you wish to attend with?
Renegar starts to speak and then like catches himself and he smiles and he goes,
No, I think I'm...
Very well, my friend. If you change your mind, let me know. I would love to see you have a guest. He sort of bows, like very low and very earnestly, and have a good evening, my friend.
Actually, there is this mouse I know.
This mouse would not be the one from Castle Volstov, would it?
That's the very one!
I think we can arrange to have it brought or retrieved. I assume you'll want us to bring all of them?
Oh, yes. Yes, please.
I will send word. Anything for you, my friend. Your shenanigans are a treat for everyone else to enjoy.
What's a party without a few mice? I mean, Cinderella would agree.
You know what? Cinderella would agree. And without saying another word on how they know what Cinderella is, Strahd just turns and leaves very quickly.
Renegar's like, okay.
And as Strahd exits and you are left alone again, the sun is just barely, the last orange rays are peeking over in the thick clouds, and it gives you a very different memory from the ones that you've been experiencing. Smoke billowing, fire burning behind it. As you fade into the past within your mind, below you, in the city and currently not visible, a trio of hooded figures rush through the shadowed streets. The middle person carries a large black stone box. They run frantically. Behind them is an oversized kobold form, sprinting and leaping and gliding on fiery wings occasionally as Liss gives chase. Liss, you feel no anger in this moment, or at these individuals, only fear at what they carry. The trio break from the alley into the open street, and now, Ranagar, you can see them. As you dive towards them, the third hooded figure turns abruptly and slams into the middle one. You hear a cry that you recognize as Ero's voice as the box is thrown wildly into the air and crashes open behind them. There's a flash of back energy as Eros, what you assume to be Eros, turns around and reaches for the box. And this invisible to anyone else, this shadowy tendril flows its way up Eros' arm before the being that ran into them grabs them and drags them out of the street. Vess stops dead as she nears them. Ranagar, you're just above now. As Vess, a sudden wave of violent glee washes over you, and you suddenly desire to create great works of art, to tell a story. And what better way than to tear down your own creations in this macabre performance? Ranagar, as the thieves run, the box has fallen, scattered open, and Vess turns away from it and runs in the opposite direction, leaping, and her flaming wings carry her to the top of the nearest building as she grasps wooden frames with her flaming claws, and it ignites. Vess, as you leap the top of a building, you set a light. Ahead, you see your first target, the bronze domed picture theater. It gleams in the flyer light as the building behind you catches faster. Ranagar, as you turn to pursue Liss, Vess, Vess, you hear screams from inside of this burning building.
Ranagar
first.
Ranagar swoops down and with his wings starts beating as hard as he can to try to create like a vortex to put out the fire. And as he does, he rears his head back and gives a clarion call to call his general and his archmage and the other members of the council and army to his aid as he roars in confusion and pain.
As this roar echoes through the streets, Vess, what do you do?
She looks around, and she sees Ranagar coming and starting to put out the fire, and hears the call, and she gives a little bit of a smirk as she looks back to Ranagar, her eyes slightly crazed, and she says, "The city was a beautiful work of art, but this will be even better. Trust me." And she turns around, and she reaches down, and she finds one of the supports for the building, and she rips it apart, throws flaming pieces away. She flies to find another support for the theater, and begins tearing it apart. Throwing the pieces in, if you look down, which I doubt anyone is, in almost a pattern, forming a star around the building as the pieces of the building are redistributed.
Ranagar flies over and wedges the bulk of his body in to support the building so it doesn't collapse as he tries to keep the people inside from being crushed.
As you do this and kind of people start rushing out, there's a flash of arcane energy. As first, I'm so bad at names. I'm sorry.
Naren.
Naren.
It would probably help if you change the overlay.
I'm doing it right now. As Naren and Rallo and Crix are all teleported in at the call of their king.
Naren immediately seeing just everything sort of collapsing around, uses casts levitate at the highest level they can and just does their best to just pump all of the arcane energy to try and hold the building up so that Ranagar can move on.
Crix will take a position immediately opposite of Naram and attempt to hold up another side of the building, finding those under his command and giving them the order to help any and everyone out as quickly as possible to avoid having to expend too much magic on Naram's part.
As
does Rollo see Vess flying off?
Make me a perception check.
As Ralos does that, Ranagar reaches his head around and looks at Crix and Mirren and growls,
Raktos has escaped. Damage control. Save the citizens.
Crix
Everyone,
doesn't
fat
reply,
out.
just nod. And orders a smaller group to head forward and then see what's going on in the rest of the city.
Gotcha. So these soldiers split up in two groups as they start forming very quickly. A very well-run city guard. As individual sergeants start running into the building and rapidly directing people out, digging people out of rubble, and just doing their best to save as many. The other group basically follows in behind Vess to clean up some of the excess damage as they transition to their next target. Vess, as you start heading towards your next target, you can see one of the trains running along the middle wall, not that far from you at this point, as it is continuing its route along the tracks.
She looks.
Go on.
She looks at the next target where she's planning to go. Glances and sees the train, and smiles. Perfect timing. This arch will be absolutely the best that's ever been seen. And she flies over and dives towards the train to the head where the conductor is, and flies in and sees the conductor and throws him out of the train, grabs the control board, rips it apart, and then jumps immediately out of the train. Seeing where another track intersects, she runs to that track. The train is not there. She takes a piece of the track and she throws it, and it forms almost an arch right next to this series of tracks, leaving it open to the hill nearby. And then turns and redirects at her next target.
Screams and cries of the people echo as this chain of destruction continues. Rollo, Naren, Ranagar, and Crix, as you see this.
Rollo rolled a natural 20 on the perception check.
Take a fate point, and you are very aware of who that is.
And initially running after Vess, assuming that she was attempting to help and through damage control, and seeing all of the destruction, is just shocked and completely shaken to his core, and isn't quite sure what to do for a moment, and then rushes as fast as he can towards the train.
As you do that, you hear a little cry. Please, how do I do a bad Cockney accent? Oi, please help me. As beside you, there is a kobold who has been trapped under a cart that was overturned, and is pinned. Their leg is pinned underneath it.
Rollo is going to cast Healing Word, and then just start dragging them out.
Oh, they're pinned. They're pinned by this
pinned?
cart. Yeah, and you are not strong enough to lift the cart.
How far away are they? Are they out of sight?
Nope, they're just down the street from you.
Crix is
Ranagar
going
grabs
to-
Crix and throws them.
All right, Crix is being thrown. Crix,
Go!
Ranagar, I need a strength
let's go
check
with
as you are
the
now the only
immovable
one holding
rod.
this building up.
Crix, let's go with the immovable rod. And proceeds to land, roll, next to the artificer, and without wasting a beat, pushes up the cart, nearly effortlessly.
The moment
Pull
that
it out!
Crix arrives.
Yep, yanking them out of there. Ranagar, as you are now, what did you get on that strength check?
19.
As the building is crumbling, you manage to kind of pull yourself forward underneath it and form an arch to keep it up. As the last of the soldiers run out, one of them looks like, "Oi, my lord, we got them all!" And they clear the
Ranagar-
street, completely away from where it's going to collapse.
Ranagar nods and he moves out of the way, letting the building collapse behind him.
There's a visceral smash of stone, and then the clang as the top of the building shatters and rolls through the street, just creating mayhem behind it that is now fortunately empty, as the soldiers then continue charging afterwards in the direction of Vess and the carnage.
Ranagar takes flight, and as he does, he turns to Niran and goes,
The train. Stop the train.
Niran nods their head, and as they cast Levitate again, starts flying through the air
They have wings.
Yeah,
They have
yeah,
wings.
they have wings.
I forgot they had wings. They just start flying through the air. They don't need levitate. Fuck it.
So Naren flies through the air towards the train.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to take Naren here and say that as they fly over, they run over to Rallo and kind of grab them and say, I'm going to need... God.
You're doing it. Just
I'm
commit.
going to need your help for this. And kind of grabs you and picks you up as you are very light and flies you over towards the train.
Oh, shit!
And the train that has lost its conductor, they sort of toss you. They kind of drop you onto the track to go after the other one where the train tracks are destroyed, and just be like, "All right, you deal. You deal with that one." God, I'm so bad at this. It's okay, I got this.
You're not. Stop second guessing.
It's I'm trying to make it
Bad accent.
Yeah. It's specifically bad.
Rallo, so you're dropped on the train tracks, and this train is speeding towards you. Well, beside it. You're not on the tracks. They weren't a monster. You're beside it.
Right. The next set of buildings that the train starts to pass, Rollo casts web and Perry Spider-Man style tries to hold the train as best they can.
With the webs,
and
okay. Kind of creating the
with
webs,
the webs.
so that it hits the... All right, go ahead and make me a... Naren's, make me a... just roll a d20 and add Naren's spellcasting modifier to it. So that'll be charisma. Well, that's happening for...
Oh, Niran. I
Yeah,
thought you meant
Naren.
the other one.
Oh, no, sorry. It's Rello. I'm an idiot. Yes, you're right. It's
Mhm.
intelligence. Sorry. Naren's ahead doing the other thing. While this is happening, Vess, there's about, like, 10, 12 blocks to your next target. So what sort of mayhem do you create as you are transiting?
Glancing back and seeing the trains on a imminent collision course, she runs through with a definitely somewhat very insane laugh. And she looks around, and all the biggest buildings, or the ones that seem like they'd house the most people, office buildings, whatever she can find, she just hits with fire and claws and just tears out the supports, whatever the key supports for those buildings are, and runs from one to the next to the next. As slowly the buildings behind start to give out, instead of going through the whole building, she just tears out the foundations.
Before
and keeps running through the city.
Before Vest can get too far, Ranagar lands in front of them and breathes this wash of energy across the buildings. And they don't stop falling down, but it's like it's happening in slow motion, as if he's slowed down time for all of these. So you see these bricks and fire just slowly tumbling down, and he just plants himself between Vest and their next target and goes,
Stop. What are you doing?
Renegade, don't you see? This is the way it must be. We have built the city, but it's going to be even greater. The art will stand for millennia. You must let me continue.
Can't you see what you're destroying?
One might call it destruction, another might call it building. We are making it better, Renegade.
Ranagar tries to pin Vest down.
Opposing strength checks.
Ranagar gets a 20, dirty.
I know I have a plus high strength, but that's a nat 1.
I guess you're actually on my side. So. All right, so Ranagar, you managed to pin Vess to the ground with a claw. How do you describe that?
Yeah, so Ranagar just reaches out and holds down a claw and goes,
Please, stop.
Renegade, what are you doing? Why are you stopping me? And she's gonna try to shove him off and maneuver out from under his claws.
Oh, also, if you're raging, you have advantage on strength.
Oh, that's right.
Well, then you'll have
We can
advantage
go
on
this
this. You'll have
color
advantage on
first,
this
huh?
next one. I'll also say, Ranagar, as she grabs your claws and kind of tries to drive them off of you, I'll also have you make a concentration check as the flames from their claws actually burn you for the time hold.
I hold the time hold.
And a strength check, post strength check for both of you, please. And while they're doing that, over to Crix. So these slowly collapsing buildings that Ranagar's freeze time as Ranagar is now grappling with and attempting to calm Voss You can hear people screaming and yelling from inside of these buildings as they slowly fall apart.
So is everyone like slow motion or just
The buildings, the physical.
Okay. Crix is going to gather the men under his control around him and have them clear paths for anyone inside the buildings, and he himself is going to run in, planting the immovable rod in one corner in case it's let down, and is going to himself work on pulling people out.
Ranagar, I'm going to spend a fate point for you there, General Crix, in that the stones are moving slow enough that you can use them for stairs.
Fuck yes. Crix will bound up to the higher levels in order to get the people on the top, top floors down. It's going to be pulling them out fairly unceremoniously, just making sure they drop from a height that will not injure them to the point where they cannot move, just trying to get everyone out.
Gotcha. Yeah. Kobolds soldiers from below actually catch on to what's going on, drop their weapons, and run over and start catching people as General Crix is unceremoniously bringing them down. Back to the train. What did you get, Rallo?
I rolled a 19 plus 8 for a 27.
Okay. So as the train... do you have something else? Okay, as the train hits the web, it starts to slow. But I'm going to spend a fate point, and the webs start to fray.
Stop fucking reading my mind. That's exactly what I was.
As the webs, you see the webs start to tear and away from the building. In fact, the webs are so strong that the buildings are actually the problem, as parts of the stone where the web is connected is slowly pulled out, and the train is not slowing fast enough.
Yep. Naren is going to see this and fly forwards as fast as they can, and they are going to cast, if I can find what the spell is, they're going to fly about 12 seconds ahead of where the train is, and they are going to rapid fire cast Pass Wall to try and create a sort of a gate to the ground so that the train can go off the tracks and have some friction
kind of
to stop. Yeah, sort of like in a downward motion.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So as the train has slowed quite a bit as it finally tears through the webs, it rumbles forward with the last of its momentum, bounces off the track and onto this pass wall and sort of skids downwards. I'm going to spend a fate point and say that a very brave kobold inside, just before it did, ran to the front and pulled the brakes. So as it hits the ground, it skids and it slides, and some of the carts overturn, but overall it comes to a rather gentle stop, considering what it is, and immediately soldiers are swarming all over it.
Can I say
Do you have an addition?
one thing?
Yeah, of course.
I have one addition. After the train has stopped and past the point where the screaming would have also stopped, it's still going.
Ooh.
People inside the train are still screaming for some reason.
Okay. We will go with that then. But first, back to Ranagar and Vess. Vess, you are currently pinned by Ranagar's claws. You're trying to pry him off of you. What did your strength scores?
27.
28.
Vess just barely pushes up, gets their feet under them, shoves you up with an absurd amount of strength, kind of throwing you upwards and getting you off balance. Before you can slam down, they take off into the air. And Vess, we're towards your next target.
As she launches herself into the air, she looks back, and over this part of the city, in the street, there's this archway, this very elaborate archway, showing where the division between different sections of the city are. And her eyes glow, and she points a finger, and one of the supports on one of these arches is destroyed and begins to fall towards Ranagar. And she says, "You've turned on me. We've always worked together. I can't believe you would turn on me now." And she looks back, and she keeps flying, heading towards her next target.
This archway quickly breaks, crumbles, and now stones, big chunks of stones, and the two separated pieces of the archway break away between the two supports and come slamming down towards you, Ranagar.
I'm gonna say that they pin him down,
Okay.
and he gets stuck under them. And then as this happened, he waits for them to like settle, and he shapeshifts into his human form and crawls out.
Alrighty. Well, I guess that's not a thing because you don't. Your dragon form is. Oh no, your damage is universal. You're not a druid. You are a dragon. 30 points of bludgeoning damage. As you manage to, as the stones crack, and you manage to get out just as you hear a, and it collapses on where your dragon form used to be. Crix, as this occurs, just as the stones hit, you manage to get the last person out of the building, but now the buildings, and your soldiers are rapidly clearing them, but now the buildings start to fall as the time magic wanes, with you still inside.
Are the soldiers out?
Yes, I don't have any fate points. I'll get some. It's just you who needs to
Alright.
get out of this one.
Crix is on the upper floors, and is going to use their ability with the Ring of X-ray Vision to try to see below them to see if there's any path that would be quick to maneuver without just falling out of the building.
Looking around, no, and the building is rapidly falling. You do not have to. You gotta make a decision.
I'm just gonna get out. Okay. Is going to. How high up is he?
We'll say you went on the top floor, so 5 floors up. So what is that? 60 feet.
Cool. He is going to run to the side and jump out, and try to angle and catch himself on as much rubble and stuff that's falling to injure himself but slow his descent.
Cool.
So that he won't go splat.
All right. So as this building is rapidly tumbling down, you leap out one of the windows onto one of the rubbles that had been held in place, hit it hard, roll, and then manage to leap. And sort of, instead of hitting a pile of rubble, you actually go to the next building that's not collapsing and use your strength and your claws to slow your descent as you grab onto the wall and just tear into it. Tear stonework Hulk style as you manage to prevent yourself from hitting the ground too hard. You will still take 13 points of bludgeoning damage.
Right.
Mm.
He will also call out towards where the archways were. My king! Are you alive? Basically.
Yeah, I'm alive. Unfortunately.
And as he does, Ranagar shifts back, and you can see him become this massive dragon again as rubble and stone falls off of his form, and he shakes himself and goes after Vess again. But before he does that, he stitches himself back in time. So from Crix's standpoint, they see the archway sort of shudder and reform, and Ranagar backs out, and Ranagar is back in next to them standing, and he just grabs Crix and then snaps forward in time so that he's holding Crix beyond the shattered archway. And he goes,
Sorry, I know that was unpleasant.
and he puts you down, and he's like,
Let's go.
and he flies off.
Crix, I need you to make a Constitution saving throw, as traveling through time and being time-stitched is not a pleasant occurrence for mortals whose brains are... It's not a pleasant occurrence for anyone who isn't a bronze dragon.
26.
All right. So it's awful and
Crix
disorienting,
is used to it.
but it's happened before. I love that. Absolutely. Meanwhile...
Oh, and as he does, he time shimmers around Crix as behind them all the buildings collapse as the spell dissipates, and they move in real time, and then Crix starts to shudder as haste is cast on them. But not this shitty ass 5e haste. I'm talking 3e haste, where
Hells
it's like
yeah.
good.
Where it's nutso.
You're a speedster now.
Meanwhile, Rallo and Naren? God, I'm so
Naren,
bad at this. Naren. Both of you having managed to save that one train, you can hear screams coming from within, and then you hear screams coming from the other train that Vess had diverted that is going towards the torn up tracks.
Naren is going to immediately fly towards the other train and cast reverse gravity and start lifting the train into the air and removing any sort of momentum that it has.
Okay, I will need you to make a spellcasting check to remove the momentum.
Absolutely. That is a 16 plus 16.
Okay, so as the train
is
reaches the front
30
front stops dead, but the back flings up, but then manages to get caught in the reverse gravity and sort of flies up and is just floating there. I believe it's 60-foot cylinder. Is floating there 60 feet above the track where it was, just sort of bobbing as you hold reverse gravity. Meanwhile, the screaming from the other train as a few soldiers are clambering inside trying to rescue people.
Yep. Rollo is going to rush to the doors and knowing exactly where the emergency, because he built them, knowing exactly where the emergency opening is, just starts hitting them all and looks inside. What does Rollo see?
So inside the train you're at, none of the soldiers have gotten inside yet. And this was probably the third train, best guess, since they've kind of broken apart a bit. And it seems to have hit very hard. The weight of the other two trains yoinking it snapped free and it tumbled a lot more. And so it is a mess inside. Chairs and bent metal is everywhere. And there's about half a dozen kobolds that are untrapped. And sort of as the emergency exits are blasted open, scramble up, helping each other, helping others out, and just working together to get these people out. But underneath, there are people trapped in the wreckage. And you can definitely see blood, and you can definitely see carnage.
Can I spend a fate point?
Absolutely. Whenever you want.
How far do you think Rakdos' influence is extended at this point?
It's mostly Vess. Is mostly the one who was impacted by it.
Okay, then never mind. I will leave that to you. Rollo is going to start. Sorry, I'm on the wrong character sheet. Alrighty. Yeah, Rollo is going to pull out his crossbow and start aiming at sort of the key points of the rubble using his technical knowledge, understanding where, the things that are keeping it trapped down and keeping the people trapped down, is going to start firing acid arrows to try and melt through any of the support beams, and then just calling the soldiers over to try and help lift everything up because he has a -1 to strength and he knows that.
As Rollo starts, God damn it. As Rollo, Renegar, stop changing my storybook.
Sorry.
As Rollo fires these acid arrows, they hit strategic places and sort of melt. And one of the people who's trapped, it's sort of like a handrail that you would use to, in the middle of trains for people to hold on to. That melts away and the rubble just completely falls off this person as they scramble out. They've got scrapes and bruises and tears in their clothing and blood everywhere, but they look healthy enough that they manage to sort of run over to another person as you manage to free them, and they manage to shove what little rubble is off them and grab them out. And as you start clearing these things, you can hear the clinking of chainmail as soldiers clamber over top and beside you. And just run in, no words, just start freeing people as you're shooting away. Meanwhile, Vess is still rumbling forward through the city towards their last target.
At this point, she's getting a little bored of just ripping out the foundations and the support structures. That's not really exciting enough. It's not artistic. It's not very, very creative. So she looks over and she sees a building where the metal supports are very visible on the outside of this many-story building, and she looks at it and smiles, runs over, she grabs the metal support from one corner, rips it out, and throws it over the walkway towards some of the home buildings outside of the main walkway, where she knows it will hit several houses. Hearing the impact and seeing that it has worked, she goes forward to building after building, doing the same thing.
Okay. So Ranagar and Crix, as you guys chase after Vess, you see her tear one of these out You yeet them over, and they just start smashing. And it's just a torrent of these, causing absolutely terrible damage wherever they land.
Ranagar turns to Crix and just like gives them a look and then sort of disappears as he moves forward in time to before Vess even started this. And his human form runs from building to building, yelling, "Evacuate! Evacuate! Get out! Get out of these buildings!" And he's running from one to another. And you can see the strain on him as he tries to hold this time magic, and manages to get all but one house before he snaps back like a rubber band into his dragon form. And you can see that he's in like horrific pain as he takes damage from what he's done. And now, as Vess is moving through the streets, people are milling about, and that's as the buildings are collapsing. The people are already running out of them in front of Crix.
As these pieces smash and shatter. Nice.
And there was one left, right?
Pardon?
There was one building that Ranagar didn't get to.
Yeah, the initial one. I think we'll say the initial one.
Crix will look to Ranagar for a moment, about to give praise, or maybe even to ask if Ranagar needed some help, some aid, realize that's bullshit, not going to be useful in this situation, and then is going to immediately bound off towards the first building hit.
Okay. As you reach the first building hit, it is awful. There was many people inside as the building is sort of scattered everywhere. There are definite corpses mixed about. There are people kind of scrambling to pull loved ones out of the terrain. And someone is on top trying desperately to take this rubble off of what you assume are survivors underneath.
Crix is going to climb the rubble and with inhuman speed take this person by the back of the shirt and move them so that they can pull up on the rubble and just begin to basically dig with their bare hands into some sort of hatch to get people out of.
So as you're pulling this apart and you're tearing in, you can see there's a body that is crumpled over, and as you kind of move it, there's two small kobold children that were sheltered by the body when it collapsed. And you manage to scoop both of them out and get them, and the person runs over and grabs them. It's just like, "Oh, thank you so much. My wife?" And he just kind of sees your face and turns and just sort of like buries the kids heavily into his arms and runs off. And at this point, as Ranagar has managed to clear the other buildings with time magic, and Rallo and Naren have managed to managed to rescue the trains.
I actually wanted to spend a fate point for
Okay.
Naren, who last we saw was still holding the train in the air. Naren, who's floating between the train and the ground, reaches deep into their arcane well of sorcerous draconic energy, and they twin a spell, but instead of casting reverse gravity again, they use move earth to create this massive ramp. And as they do, you can see the strain is like splitting their very muscle fibers as blood appears across their body, as if they're literally ripping the ground up with their own strength, and creates a ramp to let the train not all that gently careen to the ground, and then they just drop as both spells fizzle out and they lose all strength. And Rallo, you see Naren falling towards you.
Yeah, Rallo is immediately going to reach out with a hand using one of his arcane focuses and cast Featherfall through like this clockwork orb that he carries, and just twists it and unleashes the spell.
As Naren's wings give out, they fall, and then very suddenly, their falls descended, and they very gently land onto the ground. Incredibly strained from what they managed to do. But soldiers are already at the other carts, and they built the ramp incredibly well. And although it wasn't a soft landing, all of the carts managed to remain upright. And the soldiers are quickly managing to get people out as people are kind of busting open the doors and getting themselves out. It is at this point, after Ranagar has used their time magic to rescue those folks, and Crix was able to, do that part as well. And now, Rallo, after saving this, Vess reaches their final target. This beautiful, elegant orphanage right beside this wonderful green space, this kind of interior city park. And inside there are many children huddling as they are being assisted by clerics and other workers to kind of try and keep them safe and secure in this building.
Ranagar is going to use another fate point to drag Vess backwards through time. And it's clearly this massive strain as he roars, he holds out a claw, and he pulls them back towards him through time. And as Vess fights him with each, footfall forward, he tries to drag them back while just screaming,
No, not this.
As she was heading towards the orphanage, she ran down a side alley. And she just lit every house, every field, everything she could find on fire as quickly as possible before running back towards the orphanage.
Oh boy.
And getting stopped by Ranagar.
Time does not flow around Vess like normal people. They are due to their very nature, time magic does not affect them the same way. So Ranagar, it takes all of your time, all of your strength, all of your knowledge as a bronze dragon to sort of keep them forward. In fact, you're not even affecting them necessarily. You're affecting the air around them. You're affecting the ground beneath their feet. You're using every trick, everything you can possibly do to slow their approach towards this orphanage. And as you do, Rallo and Crix, you both manage to catch up at the same time and just see these wave of buildings that have just completely ignited, this tinderbox, as the houses in this area are less stone and more wood. As you can see, Vess desperately trying to fight against the time magic around them and get towards the orphanage.
Rallo is going to see everything that's happening, and he is going to cast haste on himself and just start, like, as soon as he sees that Naren is on the ground, he's just going to direct soldiers,
Please, help them!
and then he is just going to book it towards through where the fire is leading.
Okay. So as you're running to the kind of the other side of the building, you will take 8 points of fire damage as the flame licks and the heat burns you. Crix.
Crix, instead of running past the fires, seeing that Rallo is already on the way, and the other soldiers are already on the way, is going to instead stay around the burning buildings, yelling for anyone who could hear to help, like, smash open doors. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to be smashing open exits, using that ring of X-ray vision to see where anyone may be in the immediate vicinity to give them an exit of some kind.
Okay, I'm going to need a Constitution save from both of you as you inhale a ton of smoke running through these fires and trying to rescue people. While you're doing that, Ranagar and Vess. Vess, you, as much as you struggle, you cannot get out of this time loop that is pulling you backwards. You can see the orphanage, but you can't get to it while Ranagar is holding this effect on you.
After fighting for a while, Vess turns around and she looks angry. Her eyes still have that slight crazed look. And there's a hint of betrayal to her voice as she turns to Ranagar and she says, After hundreds of years, after everything I've done to help build this city, what are you doing? Why are you stopping me?
Ranagar barely able to do anything except hold Vest back. Almost quietly, for this massive dragon, goes,
Please. Don't.
And she looks at him and she goes, why not?
This is your city. You built this. All of this was for you.
She looks at him and there's a slight flash of something in her eyes and immediately it disappears. And she goes, it's my city. It's my city. And this will make it better. This will make it better. And she turns around and she does everything she can to just pull free of Ranagar and get towards the orphanage.
I'm going to spend
And
my last fate point to have the time magic break, as Ranagar's ability to hold it, the strain of this nearly, what should be an almost impossible task of keeping Vest still. The time magic fades and Vest continues running forward towards this orphanage.
She looks back as she breaks free and she says, trust me, Ranagar, I know what I'm doing. And she turns around and runs towards the orphanage.
Ranagar?
Ranagar, tears streaming from his eyes, opens his mouth, and with a little hesitation, unleashes his dragon breath.
Vess, I will need a, what is it for? Oh, it's right. It's the time dragon. I'll have to update that. It'll be a con save.
Context.
Use the same damage, but I'll just adjust it to what it should be for.
That's a 14.
That is not nearly enough.
That's 16d10.
As this wave of almost sand washes over you, everything touched by it fades and ages. And as it slams into Vess, you can feel the very vitality of your body get sucked out of you. A feeling that you have experienced many, many times before. And a feeling that you dread almost more than anything. Secondary only to the regret. As you feel your very life shrivel around you. How much damage?
As this
105.
As this hits, Vess lets out an ear-piercing scream that echoes down the street. As she slows, and she's still alive, but very badly hurt, and she stops at the front of the orphanage, and she turns around and looks at Ranagar. The pain of the betrayal in her eyes, and she goes, so be it. And she turns around and she runs at Ranagar. Claws flaming, wings flaming, ready to attack. And she goes at him with claws, teeth, tail, everything she has as she flies towards the gargantuan bronze dragon.
Ranagar? As Vess turns and charges towards you, clearly intent on violence.
Ranagar just takes it.
So as you reach them, Ranagar doesn't defend himself. If you'd like to describe the damage that you deal to Ranagar.
As she comes at him, she's tactical in her attack, but there are moments during it that there seems to be a bit of hesitation, almost as though there's some part of her that's fighting it. And yet the attack is still devastating. She rips in claws, teeth, tail, trying to keep Ranagar from being able to continue to fight, aiming at the base of his legs, his wings, anywhere that will keep him from being able to follow her.
As Vess tears through the defenseless Ranagar, she shreds scales and muscle underneath, manages to get to the base of one of the wings, and just drives their claws in, and the wing kind of goes limp, basically useless, as Ranagar has to now limp as they land beside the back leg and just grab and tear the knee to shreds before turning. And just as they turn, Rallo steps out of the smoke, having managed to evacuate people at the other side, and Vess and Rallo lock eyes for a moment.
Can I, backtracking in time real quick, can I
Okay.
spend a fate point? Because I know that Crix also ran sort of like into the fire. Can I say that I came across Crix and tossed one of my breathing bubbles at them?
Sure. Yeah.
To protect them from the smoke?
This helps you, Crix, as you continue to evacuate. The fire's spreading. You're basically just running from building to building, trying to get ahead of the flames and get people out.
Yeah, and then back, Rollo just locks eyes with Vess.
Darling, what are you doing? What is this? Why?
She looks over and meets his eyes and smiles a little bit. After all, this is her love. And she says, Don't you see? Don't you see, sweetheart? It's going to be so much better now. It'll be the greatest work of art we've ever created.
This isn't art. This is chaos. This is...
And then just can't say anything more and just looks to Ranagar, just like pleading in his eyes, just stop this somehow.
Vez looks at him and goes, Are you going to help me? And she reaches out a tiny clawed hand towards Rallo.
Rollo recoils.
Immediately, Vez's
horror.
expression flips like a switch. And she goes, You too? Betraying me like this after all these years? After everything we've built together? So be it. And she turns and makes a beeline. She throws a stream of fire towards Rallo and then runs towards the orphanage.
Ranagar stitches through time to take the damage for Rollo.
So Stanagar appears suddenly in front of you, Rallo, as you brace for this fire, and it slams into Ranagar's other side, tearing through scales and charring muscle, as Ranagar's frame is frail and drained and torn.
Rollo is going to just as best he can, he's just gonna cast healing word at Ranagar to try and do something, because there's nothing else that he has, and he's just going to like lock eyes with Ranagar and just chase after Vess.
Ranagar, as your wing heals, you have very little time to stop Vess from reaching this orphanage.
Ranagar lifts off and lands in front of Vess and tries to throw them further away.
I'm going to spend my last fate point, and Vess will pass that strength check as you grab them. They manage to catch your hand, and they start to run past you, and they are feet, barely away from the orphanage and within range to alight it with their claws.
Ranagar, I'm going to spend another fate point, will use his attacks to cut Vess down, and I assume I'll kill you with this. All right, yeah. So I'm just going to say that Ranagar cuts through Vess, as he's done so much damage already, but before their body can even hit the ground, Ranagar roars and his entire body shimmers and glows, and Vess appears again, fully healed, backwards in time, further down the street, as if none of this had happened, and he screams,
Please don't do this.
How is Vez affected by this particular switch in time? Does she have any memory of what happened before?
Oh,
or is
yeah,
it like
absolutely.
She looks at Ranagar again and shakes her head for a moment as though trying to clear it, remembers what Ranagar just did to her, and looks furious as the flames go even bigger. And she goes, "You can keep trying, but you will not stop me. I have a purpose, Ranagar. I have something here to achieve. And I don't understand why you're turning on me now, but I will achieve it." And she looks around and she sees the buildings nearby, and she glances to the left.
I'm going to cut in here. As you're looking about, you again catch eyes with Rallo, who is still just kind of
Tears
standing there,
streaming.
tears streaming down his face.
Darling, please. Please don't do this. This isn't you. This isn't right. Please.
There's a slightest flicker again in Vez's eyes, and she freezes for a moment, closes her eyes, and her whole body shakes, and then a moment later they open again. The madness back. As she turns and she looks at a building to the left, sticks out her hand, and another jet of fire shoots towards another large building. And using that as a distraction, she runs past Rallo towards the orphanage, around on the right side of Ranagar, behind a
Rallo
pillar.
reaches out to try and grab her and just can't.
Ranagar?
I'm actually gonna spend another fate point that Rallos does manage to hold on to Vess.
Okay.
Rallos will grab her arm and just try and like sort of like bear hug her from the back and just kind of like hang on for dear life.
Vess?
Feeling that the betrayal at even a higher level, the insanity, the anger, she turns back to Rallo and she goes, "Let me go. You are no longer my husband." And she turns around and she grabs him and she just yeets him across the square.
Rallo slams into a chunk of stonework, flies into a fence, like a wrought iron fence, snaps from the sheer force of it, and just tumbles down, barely alive, and with many broken bones. Ranagar?
Ranagar is going to, not knowing if Rallos is okay, twist time back so that he's back in Vess's grip again,
But
unable
not
to
healed.
move him back any further.
Gotcha. So as you reach out, what little remains of your time magic sends Rallo back, gripped by Vess. As Vess, you suddenly feel time shift around you, a familiar feeling, and you are once again holding on to Rallo.
Again, there's a flicker and a change in expression, more mellow one, as she looks around and she sees the destruction, and there's a flash of pain on her face before again her expression goes angry, and she turns back to Rallo, and this time she pulls him away and just drops him and says, "Stay out of my way," and she runs again towards the orphanage.
As you do, Rallo, barely conscious, acting more on instinct than capability because your mind is just not there right now, just manages to grab you by the ankle and just sort of trip you up almost.
Yeah, and just like trying to snap you out of it, just nuzzles his snout against your leg and just barely hanging on.
Please. I love you. Please don't do this. I can't watch you do this.
Vess looks back and sees him there, and at the touch, again, her eyes seem to come to for a second, and she looks at him and again at the city, and down at his injured form. And a look of absolute heartbreak crosses her face as she looks down at her hands and looks at the city and looks at Ranagar. And there's a slight almost whimper mixed with a scream, and then all of a sudden her face goes blank again, and she looks at Rollo, and she takes his arm, and without looking, throws him again at a nearby building through a window, and runs again towards the orphanage.
Ranagar is going to use his last fate point to stitch through time, and just as you're about to throw him, Ranagar appears, and his claw goes through Vess and pins them to the ground.
Vess falls backwards, and two of the massive claws just shred through their tiny kobold body and pin them to the ground, leaving them almost cut in twine. As there's this moment of serenity, as the chaos seems to freeze for a second. And all that is left is Ranagar staring down at the mortally wounded Vess, as everything around them turns black and fades. And the haze on Vess lifts as death creeps closer.
Having been in this position a number of times before, well, not this position, but dying, and as her awareness slowly comes to, Vess looks up at Ranagar, struggling to catch a breath, obviously in excruciating pain, and looks at him and just very softly says, I'm sorry, Ranagar. I failed you.
Ranagar starts to shrink, and as he does, he wraps his arms around Vess as his human form, and he starts to try to pump healing into them, knowing it isn't going to work, just to keep them around for as long as he can.
Why did you make me do this?
Rollo, just crawling closer.
Time's frozen for everyone with these two.
Vess carefully reaches out a hand, or a paw that's shaking, and puts it on Ranagar's hand where he's trying to heal her. And as the stars in her eyes start to glow more brightly, she gives him a look and she says, It's too late. It's too late now.
Ranagar smiles. He goes,
It's never too late. I'm a time dragon.
She gives
Please,
him a sad.
you don't have to go. I could turn back time again. We could just live in this loop together. I don't care. We could fight for eternity.
She coughs a little and catches her breath, almost as though laughing. But there's no mirth in it. And she says, Ranagar, time doesn't affect me the same way.
I know.
And what kind of life would that be? Stuck fighting each other for eternity? That would be no life for either of us.
Ranagar holds your face and he goes,
It would be worth it. Just to spend it with you.
It's as though a realization suddenly hits. And she blinks a couple of times as tears begin streaming down her face, and she says, It's too late. You have to let me go. You have to find a way to be happy. But don't. Next time. Don't wait so long. I'm sorry I failed.
No, I failed you.
She reaches up and takes a claw and just gently touches his cheek. And she goes, I don't want to go. I loved it here. I loved building this with you. This has been my happiest life.
Ranagar smiles and says, I've been everywhere in time, but you're the only one who made it stop.
She smiles softly as the light and the stars in her eyes begin to slowly twinkle out. And her hand drops. And she says, make sure they're taken care of. Rallo and the children. But Ranagar, please take care of yourself. And then she slowly cuts off and the light fades out of her eyes.
As that happens, you hear a voice. I'm sorry, Ranagar. I've held it as long as I can. When the darkness fades and the world rushes back to you, filled with carnage and fire and screams, and Rallo crawling towards you.
Ranagar expends the last of his magic to switch places with Rallo so that he can hold her as she dies. And then he runs away. And as he does, a scream tears through the city as a dragon's roar comes out of a human, and he disappears from the time stream.
And as the
As you
Ranagar vanishes from time, or into time, that is where we are going to close tonight's chapter. Tonight we're going to simply bid adieu to all. We're going to skip our usual outros for what I think are obvious reasons. We love you all very much. Thank you for joining us on this very hard chapter of Houses of Barovia. It is last call in the Tavern of Tales. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Have a good night, everyone. We will see you next time.